What's up, everybody, and welcome to this New Year's edition of the HLTB podcast. I am, of course, Abatage / Josh / whatever else you want to call me, and I'm joined by our usual co-host, Paula.
Ooh, everybody.
And yeah, it's the end of the year. We've all eaten too much, partied too much. Time to relax.
I slept too little.
Yep. And we thought we'd keep it simple and just have a little chat about our year of 2023 in gaming, what it's meant for us, and what our picks for Game of the Year might be.
Yeah, and just to be clear, we haven't played much because end of the year stuff, and we haven't really had the time for it.
Yeah. So we'll just keep it retrospective.
Yeah, we still have a lot of games to talk about, but just not the usual stuff.
So why don't we kick it off with Paula? Tell us about what 2023 was like for you as a gamer.
Well, for me, it was very, very interesting. In general, I think I haven't played many 2023 releases, so I just kick back, relax, and play otome games, some indie games, and a couple of big releases, but I didn't quite finish them yet. But I also got back into competitive Pokemon with Pokemon Scarlet at the beginning of the game, which was really fun, and I managed to get the team I wanted to use on the VGC ladder.
Nice.
Which was based around Alpharos, which isn't a very competitive Pokemon in the first place. But I made it happen, and I actually won a lot of matches with it because I just love Alpharos, especially the Maripline. They're all super cute. It's just a sheep, an electric sheep, and I love it. I also just had some fun with Strange Arcanine that no one was expecting, because Arcanine is usually a physical attacker and just an attacker, and has one of two abilities. So I took a very preconceptual notion of what Arcanine should do on Pokemon and threw it out of the window. So I had a special Arcanine that could terrestrialize into a ground type. I just caused havoc in the grand scheme of things. Also, I had my Ampharos doing speed control and made it terrestrialize into a grass type. So that was a pain in the ass for most teams because a lot of the teams had one particular Pokemon that had mostly water type attacks. So I could just speed control it with Electro Wave, which I think halves the attack speed of the Pokemon. I don't quite remember. It was lower in one stage. It lowers the speed stat of the Pokemon. That's all that matters.
Cool.
And then I just proceeded to troll the enemy with the Grass Terra type because I could. It was especially funny with Pokemon that has Spore because they couldn't do anything to me. I just ruined their day, and that was fantastic.
Sounds good.
That said, it was very fun until the Pokemon Home floodgates opened. So for a while, Pokemon Scarlet didn't have support for Pokemon from the previous generations, and you could only use Pokemon that you got on Pokemon Scarlet and Violet on competitive Pokemon. And first it was all Pokemon, but Paradox and Legendary Pokemon. Then they added the Paradox Pokemon. Then they added the Legendary Pokemon. And then they said, you know what, everything goes. You can get Pokemon from Pokemon Home. And now, so you can use any Pokemon from the previous games. And that just ruined everything because a lot of Pokemon, for example, my poor Amphi was probably the only Pokemon that was allowed to use Electro Wave in that regard. Maybe there was another because I remember it being a Necroop or something like that. So yeah, there were two Pokemon that could use Electro Wave. One of them being my Amphi, and then they brought the Regieleki, that it is an other monster in competitive Pokemon, and it wasn't fun anymore. And it just got disgusting. Like the meta, like with the first piece of DLC, it already got like quite disgusting because of the special. Like there were like new Pokemon but the I guess the box legendary for the DLC was quite broken. Like I could still like run around it and still like get some wins, but when the floodgates of Pokemon Home opened, it was over for me. So I was like, yeah, I'm not putting up with this bullshit. Like most of the teams look the same anyways these days. So goodbye, good riddance.
Seems pretty epic though.
Yeah. On the other hand, I got dragged in a very interesting variety of games. Like I'm not one to play much multiplayer, especially like online multiplayer and stuff like that. But I got dragged into multiplayer shenanigans thanks to my boyfriend. So first of all, I played a couple of games of Archipelago. The first one was Ocarina of Time. I didn't have quite the amount of fun that I wanted because I got soft lock very early into the game. So by a couple like half of week one, like most people were like halfway through the game, and I was just sitting there waiting for my hook to release. Archipelago is like everyone plays a different game, and you instead of unlocking stuff for your game, you unlock stuff for the other person's game. So you have to wait for them to unlock something useful to you to continue playing, and you have to do the same for them. The one that I did have a lot of fun with was the Work Group special campaign made specifically to play with the Archipelago server. And that was actually quite a lot of fun. I also started playing Diablo 2 with my boyfriend. And we tried to play Diablo 3 last year, I think. And it was quite a snooze fest because we had like a lot of potions, but didn't really need to use any because we were just fucking broken from the start, even though we chose normal difficulty. Diablo 2 is a different story. Like, we enter a cave that we weren't quite prepared for, and the cave kicks our asses, and we have to run away from it. And even, like, in the regular story, like, not going out of the beaten path, like, we were, like, in a fortress, and there was, like, a sus room, and we ended up going into the room and almost got killed again. So that has been fun. Also, I've been playing Predict Zomboid. Died a lot. Still have very fun with friends. Escape Academy. We played at only the tutorial level, so I'm not quite sure how to feel about this one yet. And the other game that I really, really love was Operation Tango. So one of us is like the one infiltrating the place. The other one is the guy, in this case, the girl in the chair. Or is it the guy in the chair? I don't remember which one is the one infiltrating and which one is the one like being the person in the chair in this case. But I was the girl in the chair, and it was quite fun. I haven't finished it yet, but what we've done has been quite challenging. But the game is made in a way that you have to play with another person, and you have to find a way to effectively communicate what you are doing. Otherwise, things could end badly for you and your partner, especially for your partner, because if you're the person in the chair, you're not the one putting yourself in harm's way most of the time, because there's a way you can do that. But for the person who is going through the rooms with these like flying bots that are like guarding the place, and you don't want them to get shot, that is another story, because those are quite difficult. But anyway, that is like an overview of what my year has been. What has your year looked like? How about it?
Well, I have played a bunch of 2023 releases, which I'll talk about later. But I also am not really much of a multiplayer gamer these days. Like I used to be back in the day, but especially with pickup games and playing with strangers, I'm not really interested these days. But this year has felt like I've played a lot of multiplayer because I've played a lot of co-op stuff with friends and my sister and other people. And just random dropping in and out with other friends who playing stuff. But so I feel like I've played a lot of multiplayer, and in a good way, because it's been nice to have people to play with who I actually want to play with, not just random people who
Random strangers.
Yeah, 10-year-olds giving me racial slurs and things, which is typically my experience if I play random games. But for anyone who has listened to the podcast, you'll probably recognize some of these. But I've been playing a lot of Baldur's Gate 3, obviously, with a couple of mates, and we're about 100 hours in now. It's a great game. Everyone's heard about it.
Oh my god.
We're nearing the end game, I think. Like, it's really hard to say because everywhere you go, there's so much to do. And we try and do as much as we can, not just mainline it. So we're in Act 3 and we're in Baldur's Gate, which isn't really a spoiler. But yeah, I don't know how much we've got left, but we tend to play about 2 or 3 hours at a time. And we're going to stop a bit over the Christmas holiday period because one of us is going away and, you know, we're all busy and whatnot. But yeah, hopefully we'll get it finished not too far into 2024. Then again, I don't know how big it is and how much is left in the end game. So who knows? It's very good though. And it's a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. It's been an interesting co-op experience as well, which I've spoken about before. But just briefly, there's lots of little things about it which really do change the game quite significantly. As in not the actual game, but the experience of playing the game than if you were playing in single player. Even just down to the fact that there's 3 of us in our party, and you've got a party of 4, so the 4th person is one of your companions. So you're only working with 1 companion at a time. Whereas if you're playing single player, you can have 3 with you at any given time. And so, you know, your relationships would then build a lot quicker, and you can basically go around and do any quests that are related to those people. Whereas we always have to think, oh, we're about to do this quest, and that companion is the one that the quest is for, so let's go back and grab them and bring them in so that we can get the right things. Or then we've done stuff where we had the wrong companion with us, so it's kind of stuffed up another companion's quest because they should have been there when we did the thing. So, ta-da. Yeah. And again, it's mostly been a co-op year for me for multiplayers. Well, not mostly, it's pretty much all been co-op. Last week on the podcast, I spoke about We Need to Go Deeper, which is the submarine game where you go deeper and deeper and fight monsters and big bosses and stuff. I played a lot of that with a friend. Last year and then into this year, I played a hell of a lot of Dead by Daylight to the point I played probably too much of it. And like, I think I got into the hundreds of hours, which is a lot for me, especially in that game because I played with a friend all the time, but you're also playing with random other people because there's 5 people in every game. So you can't avoid playing with other people, but it was just fun to have a friend on Discord as we played with other people and didn't talk to them. So it was good fun until it wasn't, because they'd made a few changes sometime about when we stopped playing. They updated the game and they changed it so it was very killer heavy. So if you don't know the game at all, it's basically there's 1 killer and there's 4 survivors, and you play a match and the killer tries to kill the 4 survivors, and it's all based on like horror movies and stuff. So there's like Freddy from Nightmare on Elm Street, there's Ghostface from Scream, there's Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and so on and so forth. There's like heaps of different cool horror related killers, even down to, I think recently they've added like the alien xenomorph and some other things like that. But yeah, so they shifted the balance a lot so that it favored killers, because at the time no one was playing killer, and you need people to play killer if you want to have a match because you need a killer.
Yeah.
So to try and encourage people to play killer, they kind of made the killers a bit OP, which meant it was kind of not as fun for survivors because you'd just get wrecked pretty much every game, and it was really hard to counter things, even as more experienced players that we were. Like, I would never say that I was a brilliant player, but I was definitely experienced enough that I could hold my own and do better than a complete noob. But yeah, so it stopped being quite as enjoyable as it was for a while. So we kind of just petered out and went and played something else. And then, of course, with my sister, we played through It Takes Two, which was fun and interesting and fun. Story didn't really land for us, but the actual gameplay was rad, and we had a good time going through it. I really love how they come up with different ways to make you work together. So that's fun. Speaking of, we've been playing Overcooked 2 as well, which I'm sure most people know what Overcooked is about these days. And yes, It's very fun multiplayer because you end up yelling at each other and saying random things about cooking food, which sounds silly at the time, but you've never had quite the same experience until someone's been yelling at you to pass them a carrot, and that's something that Overcooked does.
Especially when it's like, hey, I need you to throw that carrot to this second platform so my friend can throw it back to me.
Or like, plates, I'm out of plates. And yeah, that sort of fun stuff. And then also earlier in the year, I played Ghost Recon Breakpoint, which, was a middling kind of game. Wasn't as good as Wildlands, but I have a friend who I played a fair bit of Wildlands with, and we didn't play all of Breakpoint together, but we did kind of drop in and out a little bit and, do a couple of things here and there with each other because it's very much built like so you can just drop in and out of each other's game. And so that was fun as well because essentially that particular friend, just because of life and everything and our schedules and stuff, that was the only time we really managed to hang out throughout the year. So it was nice to have that kind of a game to facilitate that. So, that's always a good thing. So that was basically what 2023 feels like for me is co-op gaming kind of becoming more of a thing in my life. So, and just recently as well, I played some Stellaris with some friends. So did that as well, which I almost forgot about.
Add that to the pile.
Yeah, pretty much. But I guess I'm just going to quickly run through. I played a bunch of games that were released in 2023. And rather than labor on about all of them, I'm just going to run through and name them all, because then you'll know what I'm picking from when I choose my game of the year.
Dun, dun, dun.
So the games I've played, as in finished, and there's some of the big games, some of the tiny itch games, but as far as I'm aware, How Long to Beat tells me that they were all released in 2023. So I played Bubba Files Taxes, Hogwarts Legacy, the big Harry Potter game, Chia, which is a really cool game. It's on PlayStation Plus, I think. You should check it out. Storyteller, I was a bit disappointed by. Wasn't as good as I hoped it would be. Terra Nil, which was amazing and a fantastic ecology sim type game. Toridori, which was a 3D spot the difference game. Sand Tricks, which is Tetris, but the pieces are sand. Dodon, which is a story-based game about going back to a town where you grew up and remembering things and re-experiencing things. The Anglerfish Project, which was a abstract game about fishing in space. Venba, which was a great little game about an immigrant Indian family in Canada, I think it was, where you got to cook Indian food and play through a good story about being an immigrant. Liza P, which was the excellent Pinocchio-themed Souls-like game, which I basically, as soon as I picked it up, I couldn't put it down. Find All 4 Magic, which is just a hidden object game. Cocoon, which was brilliant. Fantastic little indie game. I really liked it. Very mind-bending puzzles of different dimensions and things like that. Assassin's Creed Mirage, which I've just finished. Great entry in the series. I like the direction they're taking it, but the story was a bit crap. Poems and Codes, very simple code-breaking games where you just read poems, and I like poems, so works for me. Jusant, which is the Don't Nod game about rock climbing. That was a fun, fantastic game. Definitely recommend it if you're into stuff like Journey. Looks Good, which is basically like A Little to the Left. It's about sorting things into nice categories and things. It's good for the OCD tendencies. And An Arcade Full of Cats, which is a free cat finding hidden object game. They're the ones I finished. The ones I started is a different story altogether. So there's not as many, but we'll get through them. So I started Atomic Heart, which is the questionably interesting semi-futuristic dystopian game about fighting robots that have gone mental. But you're, big American boy who's like, fuck you, robots, which kind of makes it weird. But Wolong Fallen Dynasty, I started that a while ago. I still haven't finished it, but I do plan to go back to it. It's a kind of like a Three Kingdoms Chinese history Souls-like that's quite interesting. The Last Case of Benedict Fox, which is a Metroidvania kind of murder mystery type deal. I'm actually quite enjoying it more than I think most people have this year, but I haven't finished it yet, so who knows. Humanity, which is all about guiding people to the rapture. Baldur's Gate 3, which I've already mentioned, which I haven't finished yet. Starfield, I started it, and due to the size of it, I just haven't picked it up again. It didn't really grab me heaps either, so I want to go back to it, but I'm not like desperate. City Skylines 2, they've only recently had a big patch apparently, which has fixed a lot of the problems with it, technically. So I haven't really touched it much since it came out because I had big technical problems, but now it might be actually better, so I'm planning on going back to it soon. Thirsty Suitors, which is the skateboarding, fight your exes, go back to your hometown and deal with your shit game. And Robocop Rogue City, which is the Robocop game that I'm still enjoying very much, but yeah, haven't finished yet. So there's a lot of titles there that I just threw at you, so I apologize for that, but they're the 2023 releases that I've played this year, so they're the games I'm kind of thinking of when I'm thinking of a game of the year. But yeah, I know you're not going with just 2023 releases, Paula.
Yeah, I actually haven't played like many 2023 releases, and I think I've only finished one or two, maybe. That if we're not including like Otome game localization stuff, because some of these released like a year or two ago, but they got released this year for Western audiences.
Mm-hmm.
But first of all, the games I started but haven't yet finished. I think I started all of this year, but don't quote me on that. Well, the big one would be The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
Also, well, that game is massive, mainly because it is the sequel of Breath of the Wild, but somehow they managed to make it even bigger.
That's good.
And they even like went through like a bunch of quality of life improvements that really make the experience that much more seamless. Then we have the newer Fire Emblem game, Fire Emblem Engage. I am so glad they got out of the Three Houses bullshit. Sorry, I do not like Three Houses. Like, I've tried to play it, but it just doesn't vibe with me. I do plan to eventually do a full playthrough of one of the three routes, but just one. I also started Warcraft 2, that it is, as always, a very lovely game. The Cruel King and the Great Hero is a game that I bought this in Japanese, and like a month later it got like released, and I mean a month later it was like, hey, we're localizing it, and I was like, oh well, I guess I'm just gonna have my physical pretty Japanese copy and play the game in English and eventually. That is like from the same people that made the Liar Princess and the Blind Prince. It has like the same storybook like art style. Though in case of being a puzzle platformer, this one is an RPG, and you play as this little girl called Yu, and she is like the daughter of a great hero, and that great hero like defeated a like a demon king dragon creature, but kind of like became friends with it. So that hero ended up leaving Yu in the care of the dragon before passing away. And the dragon is pretty much like Yu's father at this point. And it's pretty lovely because Yu wants to be a hero like her father. And the dragon is like a worrywart, and he always like falls in the shadows and tries to see that Yu is doing okay. And he actually is the reason why Yu has a special attacks like a flaming sword, or like she's able to break boulders and stuff like that. So it's a very wholesome, cute experience.
Cool.
Sorry, I went on too long about that one. Well, Hollow Knight. I don't have to talk about Hollow Knight because most people like know this Metroidvania platformer thing. That again, it is quite adorable how your weapon of choice is a nail because you're a bag. And I didn't think I would like it as much, but holy crap, I'm loving it.
Nice.
It just some things really creep me the fuck out, so I stopped playing it for the time being. But I'm willing to go back into it. Valkyria Chronicles. I think I started playing this on the PS4, And then with the remaster version, because of reasons, I jumped into the Switch version, and now I'm playing it on the Switch. I think I'm in like chapter 3 or 4 or something like that. And last but not least, Stray, the game where you play as a cat in a little like subterranean, almost post-apocalyptic world. And I love it so much. Like, there's so much attention to detail to this. The aim of the game is like to go back to the surface and reunite with your family. So you have to navigate this very dark world. And I would recommend to every single cat lover out there. And even if you don't like cats, but you like a great and fun game, I do recommend it quite a bit. Anyway, the games that I did finish, and I'm only taking games from the finished list and the rabbit hole list for Game of the Year, are A Tiny Sticker Tale, which it's a game about collecting stickers and moving things in the map and stuff like that. It is adorable. And Papers, Please, glory to Artoska. I had to say that. But this game was... I did play this game once before, but I didn't get like a good ending or anything. I just fucked up and let my family die at that point, so I retired. But now I got the entire picture of what Papers, Please is all about. I really like it. Like,
it's good.
I went crazy in a prior podcast explaining my experience with it. So go watch that. I won't take up your time right now. But it is a very good game, and you should play it. And the other one that I actually played on early access and wait for it to release was Potion Craft Alchemy Simulator. And this came into my radar on... there's more games there. But okay, Potion Craft Alchemy Simulator. So this game in particular took a great hold of me when we did like a Steam Next Fest thing with Rick and Alex. I found the demo and I played like 7 hours of the demo, and I was like, I need the full game, please. So in this game, you just make potions, but the whole process is like very, very manual. In the sense of you pick up the herbs, you have to manually like grind the materials to make the potions, and then it becomes like almost like a sort of role like almost where you each potion that you make, each new potion that you make has different effects, and you have to like guide the little potion bottle through a map while you mix and match the different ingredients. So the thing is that each ingredient gives you like a different path on the map. Like some are like straight lines, or like zigzags, some are like little swirls, and some go up, down, left and right, depending on the main element of the ingredient, as if it's fire, water, air, or earth, I guess. And you can unlock like the full path of the material by grinding it. So the further you want to go, the more you have to grind the ingredients. So it's very cathartic, very relaxing. You have to deal with people because you sell these potions, and you have to take you have to make decisions because some people will use your potions for nefarious purposes. But they also pay well, so you have to see what you want to do there. And all this to say that this game is amazing. I love it so much.
Nice.
So if you like that kind of like gameplay, it is very slow. It can get repetitive, especially like near the end, mainly because you have to make like these very special ingredients. You have to grind very specific ingredients to make very specific potions that you wouldn't normally sell. So it kind of gets repetitive in that regard, because you're making like lots and lots of potions like for this very specific thing. The good thing is that you can save your potion recipes and then auto-make it, but you can't always get away with that. So yeah, the other game that I played in 30 of the Give Escape and Rusted Lake series. That is one series I wish to revisit probably next year. because I didn't play them in order. So I'm afraid I might have missed some reference over there. And also, the plot makes no fucking sense to me at the moment. And finally, Subsurface Circular, and that was a very interesting game where you didn't quite know what was happening up until the very end. And it is the kind of game where they give you two equally valid options depending on how your view of the things are after you go through all the lines in the game. And I like it like a lot. Like, go play it. And then last but not least, I went through a couple of rabbit holes. Like, I do play a lot of otome games. I know, I'm sorry. Like, I'm not sorry. Deal with it.
Not sorry.
Not sorry at all. So I think this year I played Via Fiore, Quién, könnte, Paradine Paradox, Lover Pretend, Winter's Wish, Spirits of Edo. But the two that I went into giant rabbit holes with were Radiant Shell and Birte the More Ever Savage, and Birte in particular because of how tinfoily hat I could get in the end, because I actually had a chat with someone in the otome community that already played the game, and they let me like rant about my theories in the game like all the way through. So it was fantastic.
Awesome.
And of course, Radiant Tale, because it hits like all the right notes for me. It's like medieval-ish, but with magic, fantasy romance where you like go in a journey with your probably newfound family, and it has the right mix of angst and fluffiness, where Witch Evermore is just despair, but with a hint of a very light hint of hope in some of the endings, not all of them. But yeah, I'm gonna shut up now. So
no. By all means, what? Let's roll with it. What would you pick as your 2023 game of the year from the games that you have played?
Okay, so I had to cheat a little bit because, as you know, traditional visual novels, like most of anime games are, sometimes are not considered games by the gaming community. So I had to make an otome GOTY and a non-otome GOTY. Mainly because I feel like they like visual novels and non-visual novel games go like for very different things when they're being developed.
Yeah.
As in, so yeah. So for my otome GOTY, it's gonna be Radiant Shell.
Nice.
Like, no fanfare needed for this one. It's just Radiant Shell. And again, it hit all the right notes for me. I don't think I hate a single one of the main characters, because I do hate like a couple of particular side characters that are supposed to be villains, but that's besides the point.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like in general it was like very well written, and it didn't have the amount of like the way they explain things. It makes sense that it didn't leave like many plot holes in the whole scheme of things, and then they didn't try to over explain things like in Birte, for example, where they went too far into the pseudoscience. As my non-otome GOTY, I had to think a lot, because first of all, I'm not picking a game that I haven't finished yet, because my opinion on the game always tends to change a little bit from beginning to end. So for me, my game of the year was Papers, Please. Like, Potion Craft was really close to it, but by the repetitiveness that was going on like near the end of the game, I pretty much was drained of it when I finished it.
Right.
While on Papers, Please, I enjoyed every second of it, even though I actually got multiple endings and the gameplay didn't grow old at all for me.
Awesome.
So that is my game of the year, even though it didn't release on this year. Fuck it. That's my game.
It's still a fantastic pick.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant game. Yeah.
So what's your GOTY?
Well, for me, again, picking from 2023 releases just to make it, easier for me. I've got a short list of games that were basically the highlights of the year out of the ones I've already mentioned. So, in no particular order as well, Cocoon was just so unique and original, and just even trying to explain the different dimensional puzzles and things is kind of hurts my brain. But playing that and finishing it was just so satisfying, and yeah, I loved every minute of it. Baldur's Gate 3, I can tell you right away, Baldur's Gate 3, I thought about it and it was never going to be my game of the year, but it's definitely up there because it's so impressive for what is in this game. Like, it is one of the most dense, huge games I've ever played, with every single person you talk to just about has a backstory and something to say and some good voice acting and some really good writing. And everywhere you go, every single location has a purpose and feels like it's meant to be there. And again, has its own story and its own reason for just being in the game. There's no filler. It's basically the whole thing is completely front to back, wall to wall, good stuff. And I think that's why Baldur's Gate has impressed so many people, because it really is just there's nothing that we've encountered yet that is like, oh, okay, cool, I guess we'll just trudge through this and then get to the next thing. It's like everything we do is like, yeah, this is cool. Oh, cool. Oh, we want to go do that as well. That's cool too. And oh, we just met this person and that person's cool. And oh, that enemy was really cool. And like there's stuff.
And everything's cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's a D&D game and there are some enemies in this game and stuff that I'm probably going to lift for my own D&D campaign because they're just so cool. And so yeah, but it's not my game of the year because I have not had as much fun as I have had in other games, despite it being a very impressive game. And I can see why it won Game of the Year at the Game Awards and all that kind of thing. Lies of P, probably the best Souls-like game I've ever played. And I really enjoy the setting. It's very steampunky, but then I like the things they did with NPCs and other characters where you never really know who to trust, and the whole elongated kind of end game kind of has a lot of payoff in it for me anyway. I really enjoyed the way they, you worked your way through bosses and things throughout the whole game, but then the very end is like one massive level it feels like it could almost be as large as the rest of the game, but it's just an epic kind of showdown ending in multiple ways. And I really like the way they adapted the whole Pinocchio thing to a Souls-like game. So yeah, that was definitely a highlight. RoboCop as well. I haven't got heaps far into it, but it really is a highlight for me. This is partly, I think, sentimental because I love the movies. And the best thing, like we discussed before, that this game does is it makes you feel like you're RoboCop. So as far as I'm concerned, that's a winner. Terra Nil, which the only thing I didn't like about Terra Nil was it was too short. I wanted it to be have about twice as much content. But other than that, it was perfect. And it's just I like the theme of it being an ecological game. So you're trying to build habitats and things for animals and plants, and then clean up all your presence as humans and leave it be. I just think that's a really cool idea. Basically, most city builders and stuff, you kind of destroy the landscape as you play. Whereas this is the opposite. So it's actually quite nice. The graphics are nice. It's really chill, pleasant gameplay. I really like it. But it was a bit too short, I think, for what it was. I could have done with the same amount again, and maybe even a bit more. I don't know. And then finally, the other last shortlist highlight that I've got is Jusant, which was just really unique and interesting and heaps of fun. And it's kind of like if you were going to turn Journey into a newer, more interesting game or different game, I guess this was kind of what you'd get. And yeah, I really liked the way they told stories a lot through just the environment and finding leftover things of people who used to live there. And as you kind of get higher up your journey, as you climb higher and higher, you kind of get into more of the history of the people who lived there. And yeah, really cool game. So all of those games I think are top notch and very much worth the time and worth the energy. But I have to say my favorite out of all of them was definitely Lies of P, purely because it just appealed to me the most, and it's a very me kind of game. As in, I like Souls games as well, but I really, really enjoyed the setting and the theme and the other characters you meet, even down to the fact that in the Pinocchio story, the Blue Fairy is represented in the game as the person who you basically go to level up. So like the Firekeeper or something in Souls.
Uh-huh.
So they've got a lot of analogs like that between the two games. But even, yeah, a lot of the NPCs are kind of, which is similar to Souls as well, but they have that kind of, you don't know if you can trust them or not. And you kind of, maybe they'll sell you some cool gear, but you're constantly aware of the fact they might fuck you over at some point. And it's like everyone is Patches kind of thing from Dark Souls. But it is very much a Dark Souls clone. Like the moment-to-moment gameplay is pretty much exactly the same, with a few tweaks here and there. But I really, really enjoyed myself. I love the setting. I love the theme. I love everything about it. And I might even play it again one day because that's how much I enjoyed it. And I don't say that about many games. So, yeah, Lies of P for me, best game of the year. Hands down.
Oh, then that is a very like I was looking at your release like before you wrote the GOTY thing, and I was expecting it to be Lies of P because I do remember you being like so hung up with the game on the game that you actually did like really, really quickly, like you devour the hell out of it.
Yeah, I have not hidden my enthusiasm for this game.
Yep. So yeah, I think that is the end of our episode. It's a very short episode now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Well, we could actually go and play the last round on guess the game because
Hello? Are you guys talking about games in here?
Oh my god, is that Everdread?
oh my god,
Everdread, is that you?
It is me. It is Everdread. I'd love to talk about some games. Are you guys talking about games?
Yeah, we're
just talking about our games of the year and our highlights and all that jazz.
Perfect.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to tell, I'm shocked that you're here, but if you want to talk about, help us with your games of the year and what 2023 has been like for you, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, what a incredible year in gaming it's been. Like, specifically game releases every month, big titles, super exciting. Not so great for game developers this year, but hopefully the industry will make some improvements and those people will land on their feet, find some better positions maybe. But man, I had a difficult time thinking of what I wanted to talk about today because there's so many games. I thought it'd be kind of interesting to start off with kind of my stats for the year. So I had 90 completions this year.
Wow.
I know through the different platforms, I played 1,500 hours, which is kind of absurd. That's like 4 hours a day on average. So I should maybe think about getting a second hobby. I got How Long to Beat and video games, and then maybe I should find some time for my family or something like that. But
broaden the horizons.
I'll figure it out. Yeah, I'll figure it out in 2024, I think.
Nice.
I had my average completion time was 8 hours for those games, so I'm kind of playing like middle of the road as far as length. Some shorter games, some longer games. But yeah, it's been great year for gaming.
And what about, because I guess you're in a good position to talk on this, what about for How Long to Beat itself as like a site and the service? And I know there's been a lot of fun things happening this year.
Yeah, it's also been an exciting year for the site. We've had the Xbox integration and actually going live today, which is when we're talking, it's on the 22nd of December. GOG is now live, so you can go to any of the game pages and see how long it takes to beat the game that you're looking at. It's a partnership that's, I've been working with them for like 9 months or so. 2024, we should have another exciting partnership to announce. So the site's been doing well. I mean, the community is always awesome. I appreciate what you guys do here and on the Discord. And basically, the community to me is like what differentiates the site. I mean, obviously it's a site about game times, but like I constantly hear compliments about the community over at IGN, where I'm working now. They're always asking me, like literally, like, how do you foster such a kind, helpful community? Like, we want our community to be like that. So, the site it's continuing to grow, getting better. I'm, working on features as much as I can, trying to
Yeah.
appease everybody. But you guys make it pretty easy.
No, that's really, really nice to hear if IGN are talking about the community that way, because as an outsider kind of perspective, like initially at least. So
Yeah.
I mean, I agree as well. Like I really enjoy the community at Helm's Peak, and that's the biggest draw to be involved for me. Like,
Yeah, generally I've been involved with other communities and they are not as nice as this one. Like by a long shot, like there's been blood drawn, people crying, world-ending events of other communities. So I'm pretty content on how long to wait.
yeah, awesome. And yeah, looking forward to more integrations and things, because that means more exposure for the site and everything as well. So
Yeah. I mean, it's still even exciting for me when I see like a YouTuber that's mentioning the site or another site that's featuring, a feature, or like I've been releasing, kind of the year in review stats on
yeah,
Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. And there's been media outlets like picking up like, here's what the top completions are and stuff like that. So it's always exciting to see those.
yeah, totally. But to get back to you and your own personal year, other than a lot of good releases and having played a lot of games, how would you characterize 2023, like all up? Like for some people, it might be, like for myself, I played more co-op multiplayer this year than I have in a long time. So for me, it was a very social kind of co-op year, even though I played lots of other things as well.
For me, it's more on the side of, okay, I guess we're playing old games here.
Yeah, that's something else that I think is cool about Holland to Beat is that a lot of gamers on the site are playing old titles,
Yeah.
playing classics or things they never got to. And, there's just not a lot of sites that are focusing on that. So that's one thing I like about the community too. This year for me, I feel like I was playing mostly single player, exciting campaign games.
Yeah.
I am normally like a big multiplayer game, but I feel like this year for me, I kind of focused on all of the hot new titles. There were just so many that, but I just always had something to play. I always had.
You must have enjoyed Redfall.
I thought it was okay. I would like. I definitely ran into some issues. I did play through all of Redfall. I made it through. I think I gave it.
Oh, that's an accomplishment.
Yeah, I think I gave it like a 6 out of 10.
Interesting.
Like I felt like maybe there was some potential there, but now that they've released some more updates and stuff like that, I don't know that potential is actually ever going to be realized. I think probably not ever going to be a great product. But.
Well, and like you were saying, that's a shame for the devs in that scenario, just how that all came to be. But anyway, moving on.
Yeah, because Arcane is an incredibly talented studio.
Absolutely.
And they've made a lot of other good games, like Prey, the 2018 or 17 release. Like, I love that game. I think that was a phenomenal game.
Yeah. Is there anything that stands out as perhaps maybe not the best experience, like one of the lower end experiences that you remember having in a game other than Redfall?
Well, that kind of does come in line with my GOTY, because my game of the year, which is Alan Wake 2,
nice.
I actually had a game-breaking bug that required me to wait like a week and a half to actually finish the game.
Oh, wow.
I was probably like 85, 90% through the game on a 100% completion run, and I just hit a wall. Like I literally could not progress any further because of a bug. So like I was having the time of my life, enjoying this game that like hotly anticipated, been waiting for it for years. And all of a sudden I just run into a brick wall and I'm like, I can no longer like enjoy this product right now when I'm so close to finishing it. And I'm like riding the high of like how good I thought it was. So that was actually my biggest like issue this year, my biggest downfall.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially when you love it so much.
Yeah.
But well, they obviously, I mean, they must have patched it pretty quickly then and fixed it, or did you have to restart or do something like that?
Yeah, luckily they fixed it, pretty quickly. It was like a week and a half, but it was maybe 3 weeks into the release of the game.
Okay.
And I'll give credit to Remedy. They were pretty aggressive. Like they were releasing patches like every 48 hours with updates, and it just happened to be the one I had wasn't being addressed, for a couple weeks. So
That's pretty lucky, dude, because, well, I have to wait months for a patch for Chaos Head Noah. And it wasn't like even from the developers, it was like from the committee of Zero, that is a group of fans that do like fan translations and fixbacks and stuff like that. So yeah, waiting for a couple of weeks for a game Breaking Bad to be addressed is actually like quite the short amount of time. Like the developers released all this, and it was like, oh yeah, we need to fix that soon. Not all the games get the same treatment, sadly.
Well, whenever it happens, I always think it must be so horrible for the developers. Like, who I know are passionate about what they're doing and they want to release a good product, and I'm sure they're working as hard as they can to try and fix everything that comes their way, but it's got to be a nightmare. Just
yeah,
Even if they do a throughout job with QA, sometimes they just the things just slip through the cracks, or it's like they don't, like, players do some crazy shit sometimes with the games. So obviously you're not gonna be able to predict like what crazy thing is your player gonna do, or if your players are just gonna do like a very mundane thing that QA didn't like. Either like they try it and the bug is not like consistent, so it doesn't happen always, and that's one kind of bug. But sometimes it's like, no, that looks like it's working, so just let's go with the other more pressing issues. So that's how bugs slip through the cracks even in QA. And of
yeah.
course, once you see your code has a bug, it is a nightmare. And after you chipped it, so that's horrible. That's horrible.
Yeah, that's like the difference, if you have a 12-person QA team versus like the 3 million people that might play like an Alan Wake, in the first month.
Yeah.
especially if it's on like Game Pass or something as well. Yeah, like suddenly you've got
Yeah.
every configuration as well of PCs and whatnot to to try and break it.
To mess with it. Yeah.
Cool. So Alan Wake, what is it about it that makes it the GOTY, even though you had that bug and everything? Like, obviously it managed to win you over in the end.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like the Alan Wake 2 for me is like damn near a perfect game. Like if I remove the bug experience I had and all of that was ironed out, I mean, it has incredible art direction. There's like great use of color in there, has great atmosphere. It's really well voice acted. And the way that they're telling a story here, they're basically tying in all of their old games into one game. So even as far back as Max Payne and Quantum Break and all of these other games they made, they're somehow tying those into the storyline, which I
Awesome.
thought was like a really interesting thing for a developer to do, just like kind of showing their legacy, but in a meaningful way.
Mm.
Um,
Well, did you play Control as well?
I did, yeah.
Because I loved that game.
Yeah, I played Control on PC, PS5, Xbox. I like beat it on every platform I could get my hands on it.
Well, I remember from that game, there are lots of references to Alan Wake, the first one. So that got me really interested in that as well. And even though I'm a scaredy cat when it comes to horror games, I really want to play Alan Wake too. So the more positive things I hear about it and the more like Remedy things I hear about it really entice me, because I do really like their games. I think they're a fantastic studio.
Yeah, and it's a very Remedy game. Like it takes itself seriously when it needs to, and then it's just like wacky in the right places. Like a lot of people I'm sure have seen the musical number that was like at the Game Awards and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
that's something most developers wouldn't find a way to sneak into their game, but they do it and it somehow makes sense and is like very cool. So
One thing I like about Remedy games is the gunplay as well. Like they've got a way of doing shooting that, even as early back as Max Payne, where you could see the bullet trails, and they're actually like kind of physical objects in the environment rather than just like hit scan stuff. And I always like that stuff as well. And Quantum Break was good for that too, actually. But yeah, I'm imagining Alan Wake 2 would be along the same line.
Yeah, very much so. I think it's their best feeling game.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it is for me. Like, you can really see their legacy in this game as far as how far they've come as a developer, and even how far Sam Lake has become as like a director. Like, it's everything that they've ever learned put into this game.
Mhm.
And for me, like, I liked the first Alan Wake. I thought it was okay, not like amazing. And then when I found out that this one was going to be a survival horror, which is kind of like my favorite genre, I was like immediately in. And then there's this cool concept of you're following two storylines and you can kind of swap between them as you want to, and they tie together. And this everything about it, this story is just really well written. I can't boast about it enough.
Yeah, well, yeah. One day I might pluck up the courage to give it a go because I really want to. But survival horror is probably my least favorite genre because I just get too scared.
That's fair.
I have to play middle of the day with the lights on with like 10 people around me just talking random stuff. So,
And I will say, for someone like you, like, it's really not that scary. There are a few cheap jump scares, which even I don't appreciate. But it's more of a like an atmosphere and a tone type of game. It's more of just a darker, grittier story, not necessarily scary.
Well, I made it through the first game, and there were moments of that which, you know, I had to like grin and bear it. But oh, awesome! Any other kind of honorable mentions? That any other games that stood out that you'd like to just highlight?
Yeah, I do have a few.
Mhm.
One I'll mention is Cocoon. It's an indie puzzle game from the creators of like Limbo and Inside.
Mm.
And it has just like a really striking look. It's a first game for the studio, and as a first product too, it's, you know, an exceptional game. It has a really cool mechanic where you're kind of essentially carrying around these orbs that represent like different environments and planets, and you're using them to solve puzzles. And there's no load screen. So like, say you'll place an orb down, you can go inside it and travel to that world, and it's all like seamless. And they just have like really creative ways of using that mechanic. So like, if you like, you know, kind of puzzle games, there's not really any action. There are some boss battles, but it's more around the mechanics of this, you know, traveling system. So I definitely recommend that one.
Yeah, Cocoon was very nearly my game of the year just because I loved it so much.
Yeah, it's very cool. And I can't wait to see what they do next.
And that mind-bending thing, yeah, where you start taking worlds within worlds and then picking up like 3 worlds in one orb, and yeah, it's just fantastic.
Yeah, it's one of those games where when you get to like the last like 20% of the game, it starts to hurt your head. You're like trying to wrap your mind around like, okay, if I am carrying this one in this world and I also have to go to this other place, then how do I,
Yeah.
you know, make all that work?
Yeah, fantastic.
And I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Another one I have, Hi-Fi Rush, I thought was a really cool action combat game that's like to the beat of music. It just has like a really nice look. It's got fun boss battles. And all of this is coming from a developer that normally makes horror games. So just to see them like branch out and make this like cool new game that was also shadow dropped. I believe they released it the day they announced it. So that always gets me excited.
Yeah, I haven't tried that one yet, but I do want to give it a go because I think it's on like Game Pass or something.
It is on Game Pass.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And you'll find that a lot of games on my list have like a visual style that I really like. Another one on my list is Atomic Heart. And while I don't think it's like an amazing game, it kind of gave me like that original BioShock feel.
Yeah.
Did you play it at all?
I'm about halfway through it.
Okay.
So
like, it has a really like grand, visually stunning opening, and it kind of reminds you of BioShock when you're like going into Rapture and you're just kind of seeing the environment.
Yeah, it gives me big BioShock vibes. But
yeah,
tell me, what did you think about, say, the main character that you're playing? Because sometimes he comes out with lines that just kind of throw me off quite a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it has been, I can't remember what month it came out. It's been a while, but I remember he's kind of just an idiot.
Yeah.
Right? Like he's always just saying weird things.
And he's like,
that don't always
fucking robots,
Yeah, but it was almost. I feel like it was self-aware in a weird way, but it was hard to tell. It was like this fine line of like, did they know how dumb he is, or is it bad writing? I'm not sure.
Yeah. But I mean, it sounds like for you as well, but for me, it's definitely the thing that's keeping me playing, even though I haven't finished it yet. But the thing that's keeping me interested is that whole world building aspect of it. And yeah, just it's got that kind of Bioshock vibe where you just want to find out more about what's going on and how the world works and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think that the enemy designs are pretty interesting too.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's interesting because I haven't heard much praise for Atomic Heart, put it that way. So.
Yeah, I agree. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to mention it because I think I might have gave it like an 8, maybe an 85%.
Mhm.
Not sure what scale I'm on at the moment. But yeah, I liked it overall. I wish there were more games like that. I feel like that era of games has kind of passed. So whenever I get one, I kind of latch onto it.
Yeah, nice.
I have 3 other games I could mention.
Yeah, bring it on.
Liza P,
Oh,
which is a Souls-like.
that was my game of the
Yeah,
year.
you played it too, huh? Okay, perfect. So, like, my notes that I have, for me, it's only as a Souls game, it's only been bested by Elden Ring. Something about it for me really clicked. Like, I
Mm.
really like Liza P. And there's rumors that like a sequel could be in like the Wizard of Oz
Yes,
kind of
I've heard
theme,
that. Yes.
Ooh.
and that could be amazing. So like, I think from a studio I'm not very familiar with. Maybe one of their first games, I'm not sure, but I was just really impressed with it. Like, because usually Souls-likes, unless they're made from FromSoft, like feel a little off, and this just felt
Yeah.
perfect to me.
Like on that topic, there's actually a YouTuber called Iron Pineapple, and he does like what he calls steam dumpster diving, which is pretty much like trying out like 7 to 9 Souls likes per video, and pretty much saying, okay, this is good, this is shit, this is horrible, and stuff like that. So and it is very difficult to find a good Souls like that isn't like from software.
Yeah, very much so.
I don't know about you, but for me, Liza P, one of the things I really liked about it was that the actual gameplay was very, very Souls-like. Like it's almost like a straight copy. But then the uniqueness comes from the story and the setting and the characters, and especially I really liked the NPCs that you met along the way, like the other hunters and stuff. But the actual moment-to-moment gameplay for me was like pretty much 1-to-1 with Souls. So
Yeah, they really nailed it.
yeah.
Like when you're playing it, if nobody told you who made it, you would assume it was them. I mean, it's so tight. It's so well done.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was my GOTY. So
Yeah, I would probably put that as my second. Like if I had to make a top 3 or something, that would probably be number 2.
Nice.
And then I also have Amnesia: The Bunker.
Oh, interesting.
So this is like the 5th game from the company that makes Amnesia. I'm forgetting the name at the moment. The last couple have been kind of lackluster, but this one really stood out to me because it's more of a sandbox. It's got like really good atmosphere. There's a good sense of dread. Kind of the concept is you're stuck in this bunker and there's a single enemy, and everywhere you go, it's pursuing you and trying to kill you. So you're left with like a small tool set, and all of it's like their other games. I think it's frictional games. It's very physical. It's very physics-based. It feels very real. It's one of those games where when you go up to a door, you have to grab onto the handle and open it up and all the shelves and stuff like that. And just the way that they've designed it, like it all felt really believable and it kind of built up to that sense of dread. And it's one of those games where like everything you do makes logical sense, like, using oil and then lighting it on fire to like fight off the beast and stuff like that. A game that I enjoyed enough too. I did a few speed runs, which is something I don't normally do.
Yeah.
So that
Cool.
kind of speaks to it, how good it is.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's too scary for me. I
thought that might be the case.
I got like an hour into the very first Amnesia, right up till you see the first, I call him Happy Sad Face Man, the enemy. And and then I'm like, yep, I'm out. See you later. It never went back.
Did you happen to play Soma from them?
No, same deal as well. I'm like way too scared.
But the writing in that game's so good.
I tried to play Amnesia. Didn't do it too well either.
Those sorts of horror games are the kind of games I watch on YouTube when I'm feeling brave, just because I like the stories.
Adventures.
But playing it just, gets under my skin. I don't know why, but yeah. And you had one more?
Yeah, the last thing I'll mention is called Exoprimal. It's a multiplayer game with some unique mechanics. It's kind of like an Overwatch style PvP, but there's an element of so it's a PvPvE where like you're both fighting against the AI for the first half of the match, and then you're moving along this path, and once you meet in the middle, it essentially becomes a PvP game where you're competing. But the reason why I want to mention it, because it has some mechanics in it that I've never seen anywhere. It gets really interesting as the more you play the multiplayer, the more the gameplay loop changes.
Okay.
And it's cool because when you first start playing it, it feels very standard and basic. You're like, oh, this is just like a PvE with some PvP in there. It's nothing special. But it takes like 3 or 4 hours of playing that, which is why a lot of people don't get over this hurdle. But then suddenly you get into this place where all of a sudden there's a surprise new game mode. Like we've only been playing this one game mode before. This is a whole new game mode. And it does that 2 or 3 times. And then all of a sudden you're like, I don't know, 5, 6 hours in. And all of a sudden you get into a match and it's starting like normal. And then there's an announcement and the 2 teams are no longer going to fight against each other. They're joining together to fight a massive boss that's like 3 stories tall.
Oh, cool.
And like,
Wow.
there's just all these random events that happen in this multiplayer that don't happen anywhere else. And a lot of people are turned off because if you play it for the first 2, 3 hours, you're like, I don't get it. There's nothing here. It's just their standard shooter, whatever. But they're throwing in other dashes. Like there's one where you're playing a regular match and then like a spout in the sky opens up and just starts pouring out enemies, like 10,000 enemies. And it's like this huge spectacle and they're all bum rushing you.
Yeah, wow.
And, you fight them off. And there's just a bunch of different modifiers to the gameplay. And I think it's really unique. I hope somebody takes the idea and steals it and makes a better game with it.
Well, all I know about that game is that it didn't do well on Fantasy Critic League because it got like a 67 on Metacritic, I think. So, which is not that impressive. So,
yeah, there was an article recently too. I think like the Steam numbers are like under 600 players now.
Yeah, that's a shame.
I don't think it's doing so well.
Yeah, it sounds interesting though. Yeah, I kind of want to check it out before it totally dies. So
yeah, I think it's worth just checking out.
There's still a community to play with.
Yeah.
It's also on Game Pass, I believe. So
yeah, I just looked and it is. Yeah. So I will be trying that sometime. That does sound cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Awesome. Well, one thing we can do while you're here, Paula, why don't you test Everdread's color reading abilities?
So here you see the one card from an Anatomy game. You have to say like which color you see like the most of in this picture, and then pick a color that is not the one you say you see the most of.
I see the most of red, and I don't see a lot of green.
Okie dokie.
Awesome.
So thank you very much for your input. Yeah.
So before we do wrap up, any final thoughts or comments you'd like to add?
I mean, I'm still just, thanks everyone for using How Long to Beat, coming to How Long to Beat, being a great member of How Long to Beat, creating an atmosphere that celebrates games and, we can just play games, appreciate them, have fun, make friends. This really is still a passion project for me, and I hope to, keep developing, keep, iterating and making it the best thing that I can make it. So thank you, everyone, for the support. And thanks for hosting a podcast. I mean, I still think it's kind of crazy that there's a podcast about something I made.
Well, it's been a long-running podcast, to be fair.
Yeah, I'm just the new guy.
And now that I think about it, and now that I think about it, I've been part of it like for a very long time. But at this point in time, holy crap! But
Yeah,
anyway,
you're holding it down.
Mm-hmm.
I think it goes without saying thank you as well for I think everyone appreciates all the work you do as well, and I think the community is fostered because of the way that you've fostered it as the creator of the site as well, and so you've got to take some credit for that as well. And I think we've got a really good thing going, so I hope it keeps getting bigger and better for you, and the site just keeps taking off as it has been.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to say thank you, because if it weren't for the site, well, probably I wouldn't be playing as much as I am currently am. But also, I've discovered so many games because of people on the site just saying like, "Hey, did you know this very obscure thing exists?"
Yeah, it's such a good way to expand your horizons a bit and find new things, which is always cool.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's an honor and a privilege. So I'm happy to be here.
And thank you for coming on this special Game of the Year episode as well, because hey, we might talk to some more people as well.
Yeah, it was fun. Thanks for letting me gush about my favorite games.
Anytime. Hopefully we'll have you back sometime. But yeah, that'll wrap us up for now, and we'll have to move on to something else. So thanks again for coming, and have a good Christmas, New Year, holiday, whatever you do.
Yeah, you guys too.
Well, with that, we're just warming up on this very special episode. Who would have thought that we have that person over here?
I know, right?
Yeah. Oh, wait. Can you hear that? Is that the sound of the Van Hammer himself?
Oh my god. Coming in from on high.
Yeah, from up north.
It looks like Tiamat's here to join us. Hello, Tiamat.
Winter is coming. Hey, what's up, guys?
How are you, sir?
I'm good.
Is the holiday season treating you well? Did you have a good Christmas?
Not yet. Vacation starts Friday, though.
So we've just been talking about our Game of the Year and our 2023, and seeing as you're here, would you like to let us know how your 2023 has been as a gamer?
Yeah, so as I've mentioned on the Discord lately, 2023 so far is my biggest year in gaming, since
Wow.
I've been keeping tabs on my times and stuff. So I've got like 350 hours of gaming time, which for me is big time.
Yeah.
Because of having a family and stuff, life gets busy. So yeah, I don't really count how many games I've beaten, because it's not really relevant for me. But in terms of how many time I can spend on games in general, 350 hours is pretty darn good. So
Absolutely.
So this is by far my biggest. Like, I think my second biggest was like 250 or 275. So it's a big leap over my usual gaming time, and much of it is obviously because of Tears of the Kingdom, which took like 1/3 of all that time. Which Paula needs to go back to. By the way, you're missing out.
I know.
Yeah.
Making that innocent
the theme of
face.
this episode is gonna be Paula, go back into Tears of the Kingdom.
It's so good. So yeah, 2023. I'd say that out of my 25 completions, there are a few games that actually stand out. So I'm looking at my completions list right now, and obviously, well, we can talk about Tears of the Kingdom and Super Mario Wonder, of course, which are two big titles from Nintendo, and two games that got like awards and recognition, and they're very polished games. And I don't want to take too much time on these, because I have a feeling that it's well known. It's been talked about a lot.
And they're both very critically well received as well.
Yes. And Tears of the Kingdom did ran out with the Adventure Game of the Year at the Game Awards.
Cool.
And Mario did get the Family Game of the Year award as well at the Game Awards. And they were both nominated for Game of the Year, period. Which we all know went to Baldur's Gate 3 this time. Yeah, both very good games, very polished, very well thought. Like, Tears of the Kingdom is a great sequel to Breath of the Wild. I don't want to talk much about it because Paula didn't complete the game yet, but it has a much stronger story than Breath of the Wild. It has a much more extensive and varied quests. The shrines are more simple though, but they put more of it in the game. So yeah, Tears of the Kingdom is it did not blow me away as much as I mean, it's different. Breath of the Wild came out and it was like this huge new thing, and this one kind of continues and picks up on it and makes a few additions to it. So it is very, very good. But I think Mario Wonder did more for me. It's obviously a lot shorter game. I did 100% that game rather easily, actually. But I'm usually very good with platformers, so it's no surprise. But it's a very, 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 like, I'd say reference level platformer, as far as I'm concerned. So it's a very, very good game. But my two biggest surprises this year, like games I had in my backlog for a long time, had copies of them for a long time, and just kept pushing it back to to the back of the backlog. And there are two games that include elements of games I usually don't like, but they're so well blended together that it makes something very magical, I think.
Interesting.
So early this spring, I played Ghost Trick on the DS. I know that since it was remastered on different platforms, but I did play it on the DS. I don't usually play puzzle games. I don't usually play visual novels, and that game is pretty much a blend of the two, but it works. I know it's been talked about before on the podcast, but it is very, very good. It's very charming. It's very clever. It's nicely presented. It has a great soundtrack. It's not too long. It took me, what is it? It took me like 13 hours to beat, which is a
That's
nice
reasonable.
length. Yeah. It has plot twist over plot twist over plot twist. So each time you complete a chapter, you think that you finally got the grasp on what's going on. But as soon as you start the following chapter, you realize that it's nonsense. And then you have another plot twist, and the whole thing is really revealed very close to the end. And then everything makes sense. And I think Paula has beaten this game before.
Yep.
Yeah. So you know what I'm talking about. I won't tell anything because it's one
I
of
know
those.
what you're talking about.
It's one of those like sporter type that if you talk about it's like the Sixth Sense, like the movie. Once you know the plot twist, I mean it's something you can only experience once.
Yeah, I do plan to play this one day.
Yeah. So Ghost Trick does have a very, very revealing surprise plot twist, and I mean it's fully unexpected. Trust me, it's you're gonna have one of those damn it moment. It's like what? It doesn't make any sense, but it works. And once you go back in your mind on everything that you've done in the game,
Then it all makes sense.
every single scene
cool.
makes sense.
Yeah, like in theory, you could have solved it because the clues were there, but well, you have to think outside of the box sometimes.
Yeah, but it's a very good, well done, well written take on the visual novel type of game with very good puzzles. And it's not really hard. I mean, I'm not usually good at this type of game, but this one is like perfectly balanced. And once you go through the game, you kind of learn from the previous chapters. So it is getting more difficult, but it's like your brain is getting wired in a way that you kind of, okay, this makes sense. No, I can't do that. And you can't really fail. I mean, you can fail, but the way the game is done is if you fail the puzzle, it just resets the screen if you want, and you can try it again.
Yeah.
So that was a very good surprise, a genuine surprise, and one that I've talked plenty on the Discord channel is Dragon Quest Builders, which is a game from.
That game is very good, by the way. Like I didn't go like too deep into it because I tried it out at my sister's house on her PS5. But I don't know, like the narrator, or I guess the god that is talking to you is kind of sassy.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the best I can describe it.
Yeah, so this is a rather long game. It's like a 50+ hour game. But for those listening, it's a blend of the Dragon Quest world and the Dragon Quest lore, but the game kind of looks like Minecraft. It does not play like Minecraft, but it looks like Minecraft, but with like really high res textures. It's not like blocky textures on cubes. It's high res textures on cubes, so the land looks like very beautiful and stuff. And it mixes, I'd say, light RPG elements, like very light, with building. I'd say it brings on some sim work, like you have to build stuff for the people who live in your towns and stuff, so to make them happy and to make the game progress. So basically, the game is set. Well, I don't know if it's a major spoiler, but it kind of picks up after Dragon Quest One, which is what, almost 40 years old now.
Yeah, I think spoilers for that are okay.
Yeah, so it's well, I guess it's a minor spoiler, but when you beat Dragon Quest, the original one, and you reach the final boss, the Dragon Lord tells you or asks you before the battle, "Do you want to join me? I'll give you half the land, and we can rule together."
Mhm.
So this is what happens, and then if you say yes, then it will tell you, "Are you sure?" And if you say yes again, so basically the game ends there. He betrays you, and you die, and you don't save the kingdom. So that's how Dragon Quest One ends. And if you say no to that request, obviously you get to fight the Dragon Lord and beat him and save the kingdom and stuff. So Dragon Quest Builders picks up. It's not very told in the game, but it's probably centuries later, and it picks up where after the original Dragon Quest game, if you had joined the Dragon Lord, and then he
Okay.
kills you and betrays you and takes over the kingdom. So over the centuries, the land is devastated, and people have lost the knowledge to build.
Mhm.
So that's where we come in. We kind of wake up in a cave, and we're the only person who can build stuff. That we have the ability or the knowledge to build walls and to take materials together and wood
Mhm.
and iron and stuff, and we kind of get it. We can match stuff together to build new stuff, and the goal is to build a kingdom again, and in waiting for the next hero to come.
Yeah, cool.
So that's how it starts, and it's the same map as the original Dragon Quest games.
That's
The
cool.
first one, sorry, the first game, it's the same soundtrack, well, enhanced. It's the same enemy set, and the towns and caves and mountains and rivers are all in the same spot that you would have in the original Dragon Quest game.
That's cool.
So it's like a sequel, like a spin-off sequel or an alternative sequel or something like that. So you
Yeah.
feel like at home. You meet those people, and then you have to go to that old castle. It's all destroyed, and then you see the signs, and it brings you back to the same castle, but in Dragon Quest One. And how it works is you build your town, which is around some kind of beacon of light. It's the only place you can build something, and you have to bring people to your town. So you explore, you find side quests, and if you help someone, and then you can tell them like, oh, what? So you're good with iron. Why don't you come to my town? I'll build a forge for you, so you can help us out. And they go, okay, I'll join your town. And then people join your town, and then you can build bedrooms for them. You build a forge, you build a cooking area, a restaurant, and the more you build, your town levels up, and that's how you gain more powers. So you have to level up your town,
Mhm.
and the more you level up your town, you can build new types of rooms, which helps you be able to learn how to build new and better armors or weapons or food that helps you heal and stuff. So it really the whole game works around your own town, and it's 4 chapters. And the funny thing is, when you end one chapter and you take the portal to the next chapter, it's like its own standalone game. It tells you, like, are you ready to leave this part of the map? You will go help another town, but you need to leave everything behind. And then when you teleport to the new place, you start at level 1 with no weapon, no armor, no items, no rooms, and then you have to help another town from whatever they're going through. And all the
Yeah,
4
wow.
chapters are different. So first chapter is more like building a stronghold. The second chapter is more about like a plague that's on the land that you have people heal and people are sick and stuff. So yeah, you've got like 4 chapters to go through, and they all have their own thing. And but it's very good. It's very addictive. You want to complete quests. You want to have more people come in your town. You want to defend your town because you get attacked by waves of enemies and stuff. So yeah, basically
You're
that.
selling it for me.
Yeah, but it's actually very fun. It's an older game from like 2016.
I think it's about 16.
Yeah, it came out on PS3 and Vita. It was later re-released on the Switch, and I think they made mobile ports lately, like last year or something, so people can play on iPhone or Android phones. And there is a sequel that I haven't played yet, but this one is set in the world of Dragon Quest II.
Okay, groovy. I like that it obviously ties in so much with the original game.
Yeah,
like, that's always a nice feature, I think.
Yeah. It's. I know I talked about the game a lot when I was playing it. I was borderline annoying about it, but it really took me by surprise, like in a good way. I did not expect. Like, I'm not a Dragon Quest fan. I'm not a Minecraft fan. I'm not a Sims fan. And this game has all those things, but the blend of it is very well done.
Well,
So
I just found it on PlayStation Plus, so I'm downloading it now.
So it took me 52 hours to beat. The average on how long to beat is like 55-ish hours. The longest chapter, I think, was the first 2 of them, because you kind of learn the mechanics of the game. So I think it took me like a good 15 or 18 hours to just beat the first chapter of the game.
I've been looking for a game that sounds like that kind of game.
And it's very light. It's lighthearted. I mean, it's not hard. It's all real-time action fighting, so it's not turn-based.
Yeah.
And you see the enemies on the map, so you can engage or avoid.
Yeah, awesome.
So that would be my 4, like Mario, Wonder, Tears of the Kingdom, 2 very good games. My 2 biggest surprises would be Dragon Quest Builders and Ghost Trick Phantom Detective.
Yeah, awesome.
That would be my 4 like main games this year that I think.
It's nice that, like you said, those last 2 ones are kind of out of your comfort zone as well from what you'd usually play, and involve elements of things that you wouldn't necessarily go for, but together they all work. So
yeah, exactly. I did play like many other good games like Yakuza Island Express, which was fun, but did not like blow me away. Or Inside. Inside was fun. It was good. Gato Roboto, which is a nice little short Metroidvania. It's very fun. But it wasn't like, oh my god, this is great. And and Puppeteer was like one of the nicest looking games, like in terms of presentation, I've seen. But the game itself, it was a very standard, like low key platformer, but it looked good.
So what would be your game of the year then if you had to pick one?
You can only pick one.
Yeah, I'd still go with Tears of the Kingdom though.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just a very good game overall. I mean, there's so many little details that they put in the game. So much lore going back to Breath of the Wild. It's a lot better than the previous game. To me, anyway, it was. The game has 5 times as many NPCs as in Breath of the Wild. more dialogues, more story.
It's bigger and better and in every way kind of thing.
Yeah. So while I did have two very good surprises with the other two games I talked about, I do think that Tears of the Kingdom is the best game this year to me.
Yeah, awesome. I'm sure you might not be alone
Yeah.
in the community or in the world for that. So I've definitely heard lots of good things about it.
Yeah, if I have finished it, it's probably be up there or like my game of the year this year. But since I'm only allowing myself to pick a game that I finished, that is not the case.
Yeah, you should go back to it. It's very good.
I mean, I could, but there's like 2 weeks before the end of the year, so
It's
would have to
only
wait for
150 hours.
Yeah.
I mean,
only that, and I'm only like 55
yeah,
hours
but
in.
it flies by so quickly. It's like you play for 20 minutes, but in real life,
And
it's just like 6 hours passed.
suddenly it is 7 a.m. from the next day.
Yeah.
Well, that is one way to time travel, I guess.
But it's such a good game.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I really enjoy my time so far with it. So I'm really itching to get back into it. But I want to tackle some smaller games first to get some momentum, and then like go back in full force with Years of a Kingdom.
Good.
Yeah, well, that's fantastic. But I think time is racing and we've got to kind of head off. It is New Year after all.
Yeah.
And but thank you so much for coming in, Matt, and sharing with us your 2023 thoughts.
Always happy to be here.
And hopefully we'll get to chat to you again soon.
Yep.
Oh, and before that, I almost forgot. So I have a little picture of my Otome corner here, and I'm gonna ask you which color is, I guess, the most repeated or the most prominent, or like which color there's the most of in this picture.
I would say white.
Okie dokie. So I'm gonna ask you pick a different color from the one you've seen in this picture.
Pink.
Well, let's go with that.
Okay.
Well then, so let's see if this is a clue for the RDR listeners, as we already stated. So yeah, now we can say thank you, Tiamat, for coming on here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, always happy to be around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, glad I could come around and talk with you guys.
Cool. Well, thank you very much again. And yes, we will see you when we see you.
Which is all the time.
Bye.
Yeah.
And happy holidays to anyone who's listening too.
Thanks again, Matt. So, Paula, what next?
Y bueno, hasta ahora hemos tenido un par de invitados en el podcast y sus opiniones han sido bastante varias y bastante interesantes en cuanto a lo que es su juego del año. Y espera un segundo, ¿por qué estoy hablando en español? ¿Qué pasó acá? Espera un momento, ¿escucho más voces en español?
Pero, ¿por qué te está extrañando tanto? Siempre hablamos en español, todas las semanas. ¿Qué pasó algo? No entiendo.
Eso es nuestro podcast favorito que llevamos todas las semanas, que nos juntamos los tres, siempre nosotros.
Tú dices que el podcast es de nosotros tres y hablamos siempre en español. Hay algo que está raro.
¿Por qué? ¿Tú encuentras algo raro?
No, si yo, vamos, os veo igual que siempre, todos los domingos que quedamos.
Interesante. Siento que he estado, que he traspasado como otra dimensión, porque estoy segura que había alguien más acá. Wait a second, I thought she's here too. What happened now?
Oh, I couldn't. Something was wrong with my translator. I don't know what was going on.
I mean, maybe our...
Oh, is it working now?
It's working out? Okay. Reality has warped back into whatever it was supposed to be. The Spanish to English translator is working quite well. Because, yeah, did you know Paula doesn't actually speak English? There's actually a bot doing the work here. Okay, no, just testing. So we have now Uwe and Dragon, aka Nacho, joining us now. So how are you guys?
Yeah, I'm fine, excited to be back in the podcast.
It was for last season.
Hey, I'm doing pretty good.
We are happy to have you here. So since you guys got here, absolutely, this wasn't planned at all. So what has your 2023 look like? In regards to gaming, like what have you guys been playing?
Okay, if I'll start. So mostly this year has been Steam Deck year. For personal reasons, I had a game slump for the previous 2022 year. But then I realized, okay, if I took this lost, quote unquote, lost time and got a really portable device, I could really use I could really make use of it. And then we just got the Steam stats for this year, and if I have the choice of being at my PC or picking the Steam Deck, I always choose the PC, just plays the games better. But my times are actually like 56% Steam Deck, so I know that I will have gained half the time I actually gained. So I'm pretty happy about that.
Yeah, that's nice.
So you got a Steam Deck too. Out of sheer curiosity, how are like Steam Deck prices in Europe? Because I know like in South America it's stupid because
I think in certain countries they are a bit crazy for the same reasons. Like they don't sell them outright, but in Spain at least, it's they do sell them officially. So we get them for the regular price. Just because I know Matt, for example, had to pay more for it than I did because they didn't sell them in Germany, at least at the time. Maybe now they do.
Yeah.
No. Sorry, I was thinking about the VR devices. Matt doesn't have a Steam Deck, but I know it does happen.
Yeah, it's the same thing here as well. Like you have to import them from America. Oh, that's cool. So you've been more mobile, has been helping you play a bit more.
Yeah, also tackling the backlog because at some months ago, Steam released a new filter for the library. I mean, it's like a sorting order more than a filter, and you can order the games by the date that you added them to your library. So you can go back, see which games you bought, never played, never even installed, and I went back, saw some games that I bought in 2013. I think was the oldest one that I have bought and never played. And there, so I went back and played through a couple of them. So I first tackled the Telltale Wells of Gromit games, a couple of the Tomb Raider games that I also bought the collection in 2013 and still not done with that one. I'm missing 3 games, just 3. So it's been a bit of a backlog tackling year for sure.
Yeah, nice.
Beautiful.
I recently played the Wells and Gromit games as well.
And they are surprisingly good.
Yeah. I enjoyed them. So.
And what happened with Doom?
Oh yeah, and I also, thanks to the Steam Deck, I did a comeback. I used to play lots of the Doom mods and then use the time I had on my PC to play new games. So at first I was a bit hesitant because it's a shooter on a gamepad. But then I thought it's Doom. It has crazy auto aim. I can even mix and match the sticks and the trackpads. So the trackpad is a bit like well, I mean, it's the same as a laptop trackpad. So it does work well for like long range encounters. And then I can do most of the gameplay with the sticks and the auto aim. And yeah, I mean, I think half of the 2023 released games I played were Doom related. So it's
awesome.
been a good year.
Yeah.
So what about you? Because I mean, Dragon. Sorry. Oh my god, I hate myself so fucking much.
Oh yes, I'm here. Sorry. Well, for me, I think I played way too much this year. A bit, at least way more than some other years. I really thought I wasn't going to at the beginning of the year because this is the first year I have lived with my girlfriend. And I said, hey, I'm living with someone. I guess I will be spending more time with them instead of just playing games. But apparently someone else doing chores in the house just gives me more time for gaming. So, yeah.
What a mood.
Yeah. I also had 1 month with that I didn't have to work, so that also helped this year for gaming time in general. One thing that I did not expect to get into this year was my girlfriend actually bought a bunch of these hidden object games or find cats games that are like 30 minutes. So I have
Nice.
25 completions that are just, oh yeah, I have a couple minutes to kill while something is going on. Sure, I can search for some stuff.
Hardcore.
So yeah, very hardcore gaming.
That is so valid, though.
I did the same thing. I'm down with it, man.
Yeah. And if anyone is looking for recommendations in those kind of games, the best one of this year was A Castle Full of Cats.
Yeah,
I don't want
I love
you
that
play
one.
it's yeah. Kind of spoilers, but not really. It's a hidden game that has a boss fight at the end. So it was like, what?
Nice.
Yeah, Fofinho doesn't play around either.
Yeah. That was great. Also, I know the last time I was on the podcast, I was the Nintendo Defender, but I really haven't done much in Nintendo gaming except of still playing Splatoon all the time. But that's a topic for another time. I actually mostly been playing on my PC and my PlayStation 4 since I think ending of last year we got with a friend a subscription to PS Plus Extra. So I was like, okay, I have all these games that I have never played. Let's go.
Yeah.
And that's why I've been going on in Yakuza Rampage. I think I played all of them of 0 through 6 this year, and also Judgment. So, yeah.
That's like 1,000,000 hours to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm jealous because I've been meaning to do that.
50 hours per game.
Yeah.
And not just completing the game, I'm just not just beating the game. I've actually been doing all the sub stories on all of them. So I'm on fights and stuff. So it has been a bit of time.
Awesome.
A bit.
Just a little bit, nothing much.
Full-time Yakuza.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's mostly been obviously some games here and there, working some other franchises, but those have been the highlights, I think.
Nice.
Those are the highlights. Did Uwe talk about his personal highlights? Because we want to hear those before asking you like the big question for this segment. Either like the games you like the most, or highlights in a negative way too. So
Okay, so about if I'm going to do different categories, I think that the best game I've played that was released this year, the bar is not too high because I played 5 games released this year, and 2 of them are ad mods. So, but it would be easy Hrot, which is HROT. It's something in Czech. It's like a Quake set up in communist Czechoslovakia, and
Yeah.
it didn't have much competition. But if it did have competition, I think it would still fare pretty well.
I have this game. I need to play it.
can you spell that again because I fucked up?
HROT.
Oh, HROT.
HROT, yeah. I think it's
No, I found it.
in Czech or something like that. Yeah. Visually it's amazing, and in the gameplay it's pretty solid too.
Yeah, looks awesome.
I also played Bullet Hell, which is a release by a favorite in the developer of mine, Walter Machado from Brazil. He does like these mini micro games, and this one, the ones he used to make, you can beat them in 90 seconds, which you're not gonna do. You're gonna spend like 40 minutes or an hour until you can actually pull those 90 seconds. And this one he said, "Oh, what if I make it even shorter? Now you can beat the game in, I think it's 32 seconds or something like that." And it's some crazy bullet hell with one shot, one kill. Everything goes crazy fast. Your character, the shot, everything. So it's not easy to last more than 3-4 seconds the first couple tries you do. And this one is still technically in early access, I think, but it did release this year. And if I'm gonna pick the best thing I played this year or the most memorable game, it would probably be Kingdom Come Deliverance. And it's, I don't know where to start. It's crazy massive. The combat is amazing. It's like a logical conclusion to gameplay, like in Chivalry or Mountain Blade, or it's like those, but double the complexity. And you are not expected to actually know how to fight from the start. You do get eased into it, or you get thrown into the deep end, depending on your choices. And yeah, it just felt like a really lifting world. The whole scale of it was very, I don't know, the landscape was very nice. The cities felt like of an appropriate scale. You do really feel like you are being transported into, I think it's Czechia too. Well, technically Bohemia, which is a medieval kingdom in current age.
Yeah, I started playing Kingdom Come a while ago, and I think I got to like the first town where you're safe kind of thing, so not very far in. But it all kind of opened up, and I was like, "Oh, I need way more time for this." But just the intro was really interesting and really good. So
it's not like there's not 1,000 million objective markers, and I mean there's not that many side quests and such. Problem I said. The good thing also is that they are long. They are usually involved. They are not go talk to this guy and come back, and that's one mission. It's usually they are several steps, and there's some. It's not like a map full of markers. There are. It's a long game, but the length comes from the lengthy missions in there.
Yeah, cool, very good. And so, would you say you've completed it?
No. I did the main campaign DLCs and a bunch of side content, but I didn't go for everything. It was, I think, the most played game neck and neck with them this year, and I just did that. If I had gone for everything, maybe it would have been too long for my taste.
Cool, awesome. Dragon, what about you? Highlights, best of.
Yeah.
Best. I think the only game I played that released this year was Tears of the Kingdom.
So not a contender.
Hey! Let's not start this up again. We want one whole episode about this.
Josh hasn't learned his lesson. Not to poke the hornet's nest.
I don't think he will ever learn that lesson. But I think also not a surprising pick, just a surprise that I played this year, but I think the one that I had the most fun with this year was Hades, but I think enough has been said about Hades, so what can I add to that conversation? The only thing that I really liked about my particular playthrough, I went through the epilogue and also all the actual story, but my last run on that game was also the first run that I could actually beat Extra Measures Hades, so it felt amazing, like to get the final ending after like the hard mode of the final boss.
Nice.
Which does not need to actually be the same run, just happened to be, and it felt great.
Nice.
Another one I need to put up to the top of my list and actually play.
Hades is amazing. I don't even like roguelikes that much, but Hades is just so
I've heard that a lot in regards to Hades, like people who aren't necessarily roguelike fans get into it though. So
yeah,
that's good. I like all their other games, so I do plan to play it.
Ooh. Which is your favorite Super Shine game?
I want to say Bastion, just because when I played it, I really, really, really loved it. But I kind of like them all, like, because they're all so different as well. Like each one's almost like a different genre. So, but they all have the same art and music and well, like same quality, I should say. And they're all really good. But I think Bastion's the one that blew my mind the most when I first played it, as far as just new things. Looked so, I really love the art. I love the way the world kind of built around you as you moved around. And I love the way the narrator kind of talked about what you were doing as you were doing it. And at the time that was new. A lot of people have copied it now, but it was really surprising. So, yeah. But maybe I'll play Hades and that'll be the best. So
Maybe. Also, then is Hades your game of the year then?
I mean, if games that didn't release this year count, sure.
Yeah.
I would say so.
I mean, yeah, games release another year is kind of like you'll have to listen to my thing, like to my game of the year, like later. I don't know, because it is not 2023 game.
Well, and like you guys said, if it was limited to 2023, there wouldn't be a lot of choice for a lot of people. So
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And fair enough.
Especially with community, there's a huge emphasis on backlog and going through series and going to the roots of studios you like, or going through your games that you have bought and never played. So it's not, they usually people more skew towards the latest released whatever, but in communities where completing the games and beating them and going through your backlog is the huge thing. It's common to not play many actual new games.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's the one that has been playing a lot of 2023 games.
Yeah, I might have played a few, but we don't need to talk about that. Well, that's the result of having like PlayStation Plus and Game Pass, and just Humble Choice as well, coming out with new stuff, and all those kind of subscription things. You end up trying a lot of things, not necessarily finishing them, but trying them. So they're good for that reason. But yeah.
So then, Uwe, your game of the year would be then Kingdom Come Deliverance, or do you have another pick?
Probably, yeah. I mean, there's a fierce competition in this category. So I played Metro Exodus, that's runner-up, Resident Evil 2, the remake. I went through the Mass Effect trilogy, so
very good.
I also played the Ashes Afterglow, which is originally it's a sequel to what originally was a Doom mod, but now is a complete standalone game, post-apocalyptic shooter. So I did play a lot of games, and there's a fierce competition, but I do think Kingdom Come is easily the best one I played this year.
Awesome.
Beautiful. We have two very different games, huh? Kingdom Come Deliverance and Hades.
Well, I mean, they got swords.
They play different. They look different.
People fight.
But they both have good reputations, though. Like they both, I wouldn't.
True.
I'm not surprised by either of them. Put it that way. But
next time we will go for worst game of the year.
Well, I mean, do you have anything?
Probably some of the find items games. Some of them are bad.
not worth the $2 or whatever it was.
Yeah, some of them are actually free. They are still not worth it.
Well, you got to spend your time. So
if I had to choose worst game I played this year, it would be easily like it's called just Street Racer for PS1 and DOS, and it's probably the worst racer I've ever played. It's isometric. They change the camera angle constantly, even while you are turning, so it's completely disorienting. The camera is way too close, so you have to memorize the layouts of the tracks, or either you are not winning, and then you shouldn't be memorizing the layouts of the tracks in the game. It's just not worth it.
It looks like one of the many races that came out after the original Mario Kart. Like,
could be, but the perspective is top down, right?
yeah.
And yeah, I think the main issue is just like they move the camera not only in straights when it in the turns too. It just it doesn't feel great, to say the least.
I will not add that to my wish list.
I was looking through my games because I was like, I don't remember playing like anything egregiously like bad this year. And then I went through my retire list and I was like, oh yeah, fuck this game. Been there, done that. That
You didn't
is
like
kind of
that,
like
did
the game is kind of like I guess a point and click adventure, but it is not only not easy in the eyes. But it is very, very clanky. Like I had like a moment where I thought like I soft locked myself in a way because I couldn't like pick up an item, and it was blah, blah, blah. It was because one of the characters was standing on top of the thing I was trying to pick up, and instead of picking it up, it was I was just speaking with the character and was like, for fuck's sake, Dan or Ben, I don't know who you are, but just move. I need to pick up that, and you're not letting me. So yeah, sorry. I had like a very personal grudge with that game. I didn't play it much, but I feel like I wasted my time. So I am a very unhappy Paula.
I think if I was to have a worst one this year, I'm just looking through my retirements as well. I think it would have to be Redfall, which is probably no surprise. So I think anyone who played that game probably retired it as well. So, but again, I only played it because it was on Game Pass and it didn't cost me any extra money. So it was worth trying, but not worth playing. And just, yeah.
Yeah, worth it for the experience, not for the game itself.
Yeah, it just made that mistake of just being completely boring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Paula, would you like to bring some color into this little session?
So,
Color.
I am again re-explaining the hell out of this because I have a board with little atomic cards that have many colors on them, and I will send you a picture of the current arrangement of it.
Yeah, sorry, I just realized that what I said could sound really bad.
Oh yeah. Oh fuck.
I'm talking about Paula's Otome cards, not anything else.
Yeah. So here I have a little picture of thing. You will have to tell me what's the predominant color or what color you see the most of. That is including the entirety of the card, like both the background, clothes, and everything you see in those cards. Since there are two of you, you have to come into terms on which color you pick. Like the color you see, I mean. Okay, which color do you see, Dragon?
Okay, blue.
Okay.
I'll go with blue too.
Okay, now each of you have to write a primary color, so yellow, blue, or red.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, go. Okay,
Nice.
So that is yellow. I'll take that into consideration for our next recorded guest. And you'll be able to see the result once. Stop laughing, Josh.
I'm sorry.
Also, thank you very much for coming into the podcast. We really appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
Well, Paula, I certainly hope that the translators keep everything together and we can understand each other from now on. But
Really?
Speaking of, I think though I hear the sound of an Englishman. It looks like Nalb is in our midst. Nalb, how are you going?
Oh, I'm fine. I haven't had much English blood for a while. I'll have to find some more somewhere, won't I?
Well, hopefully we won't be assaulted by Spaniards speaking anytime soon, and we'll understand what's happening here. But yeah, we've been talking to lots of people from Howland to Beat about their 2023 and what kind of games they've been playing and their game of the year and that sort of thing. Seeing as you're here, what would you say 2023 has been like for you as a gamer?
Standard, really. I've been able to play. I have not actually had any issues playing games. I've been able to do what I can, so just what I have. It's surprisingly though this year I've actually hit some really long games for a change. I have been
Nice.
noticing this in most of my games. They seem to be getting longer and longer the more each time I play them. This year I had 2 games which actually hit more than 100 hours. And
Wow.
it looks like
Wow.
I'm going to hit the 3rd one as well this year. So the amount of games I've finished this year is quite limited. I've actually only completed 17 games, but like I said, 2 of them were quite 100. But at the same time, it's been decent in the amount of games. 4 games which I played, I marked as 10 out of 10, and I say 3 were 5 or below.
That's a good range.
Yeah.
That is excluding the itch.io games, though, basically.
Yeah.
It's been quite interesting. Some weird, some usual stuff for me, which I usually play. Like I usually go for the big open world games, which is where the 100-hour mark comes from. But I've also done some interesting puzzle games, a few Metroidvanias, a few FPSs here and there, and a puzzle game. I'm going to actually. I got the 17 games which I completed. I might hit 18, 19, including the DLC for the game I'm currently playing. That's not going to be mentioned, so I'll just say it's Horizon Forbidden West. I'm almost hitting 100 hours on that game. But
Excellent. Good game. Good game.
Yeah, it's a good game. It's not 10 out of 10 for me. It's a few issues, but it's still very good, and it builds on the previous game, so I can't complain about that. But yeah, I'm going to give my dishonorable mentions. These are the bottom 3 with other games. Or the one is,
Bring it on.
Yeah, one is a DLC of the first one. But yeah, the 3rd game, which I considered the worst, was Fear. I'm sure people will actually go disagree with these, but I guess the big thing about it at the time was the big AI and the slowdown features, which were, I will admit, cool. But I found a lot of the gameplay but dull and boring, and the levels are just uninspiring. And it did not make use of the horror elements well enough, in my opinion. They existed, and they didn't do enough of them. Basically, the other one of that was the expansion pack Perseus Mandates. I felt that one was just weak, especially compared to the other one, the Extraction Point one, because that one was probably a lot better than the others. And finally, the game I really did not like the most was Murder by Numbers. It's a Pokepaw.
Really?
Yeah. I'm sure people might be disagreeing with me. Pokepaw, I don't know. Did you enjoy this one or not? I can't remember if you actually stated that or not.
I did enjoy it. I did not enjoy as much the pictures aspect of it. I felt the puzzles were a bit on the lower quality end compared especially with the mainline Picker series.
Ah.
But the story was quite entertaining. Or entertaining enough to carry it for me.
I was not that impressed with it. The Pick Across stuff, I didn't mind actually. It was my first Pick Across game, and yeah, fun enough to do that. But it was the story which really annoyed me in that game. I found that the main character would just jump at any conclusion which comes her way straight away and not even think. It's like, oh, this is obviously the red herring, but you'd still straight away. Oh, there we go. And no one seems to care. He's just like, oh, okay, you can keep doing what you want. Just do what you please. Yeah. While you do more people. So it's like, oh, god damn it. It's just annoying me, basically. So the main thing about that was just the story annoying me. I found also there's too many pick crosses in the end. But yeah, it was 4 out of 10. That's my lowest score, excluding the itch.io games. Yoshi goes to Tesco. Oh god, doctor.
I was reading your comments just the other day, and I noticed, you weren't a big fan of many of the itch games we played.
No, I'm not. Maybe it's because the walk sims. I have. There was some good ones I'm enjoying. I did enjoy Franken. That was quite good, but the rest have not been up my street this time. I have to wait and see. I've got 2 games left. After that, I'm going to rank the rest. But yeah, the Yoshi one's going right at the bottom, I can tell you that much.
That was at the bottom for me as well, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad we agree on that one. That was a special game.
But I don't really want to consider the itch.io games. I consider them a bit separate because half the time they are like demos and
yeah.
or just proof of concept, or just first tries. So I don't really see them as these proper games you can buy outright or sold to you. I see them more like place where you could just dump for people who want to try new things and such.
Yeah.
I'll quickly go through the list. I'm not going to mention my thoughts on them until I get to the top 4 because they're my favorite games, all 10 out of 10s. But from 14th was Borderlands, Claptrap's New Robot Adventures, Revolution. Sorry. Then it was Borderlands Game of the Year at 13. 12th was Borderlands: The Secret Army of General Knox. 11, Fear Extraction Point. 10, Guacamelee. 9, Baba Is You. 8, Broforce. 7, The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild: The Champion's Ballad. 6th, Horizon Zero Dawn: The Frozen Wilds. And number 5 was Spiritfarer.
Oh, nice. I like that game, yeah.
It was, it's a 9 out of 10 for me. Like the rest one above it are 10s. The only reason I actually gave it 9 is that at the end game starts getting repetitive and you're just waiting for the just sit go. I'll go to that bit. Oh, that really hits your heartstrings, that one, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. It had me in tears, I have to say. So.
Oh, yeah, it did. I think the hyena, I can't remember his name. Was it Jacob? I can't remember his name.
Yeah, I can't remember. It's been a while.
Yeah, but the hyena. I hear a lot of people. I have a lot of hate for him, but I do feel sorry for the guy. Actually, he did a lot of crap, but at the same time, he was in the wrong location. He should not be in that hospital. He was not suited. But at the end, you could see that he was struggling, basically.
Yeah, well, yeah. I thought it really captured the diversity of the characters and each of their unique situations.
Yeah.
In a really real kind of poignant way, like even the childish mushroom, who's obviously a child and all that kind of thing, and or the snooty kind of ex-teacher woman, like
Eleanor.
Yeah, who was trying to like maintain some sort of her own dignity and stuff. Like yeah, just all those little things I thought were really beautifully done, and yeah, really got to me.
Like I said, the only problems I had was the end game. You start everything just becomes a bit redundant, and you just wait for the end then. But yeah, let's now go. I'm going to talk a bit more for these ones, the top 10 of my games. I also want to mention that 2 of them are the ones which I mentioned, which I pushed over 100 hours. You probably will recognize which ones they are as soon as I hit them. But at number 4 is Undertale. This came up as a game of the month in November. And so, yeah, as always, I pick up all the game of the months. And this one is one which I think I was the only one who played, but I am so glad I did. That one was really well done. I was really impressed with how it actually handled everything. I did the normal and the pacifist routes. I did not do the genocide route because, at the point I've actually enjoyed my time with it. I really enjoyed how it turned the RPG elements into basically a puzzle involving conversations, because it's all about the best way of actually getting pacifists out of them. And these little different subtleties, like the first boss in the ruins, again, I can't remember the name, but it's Australia, isn't it? Astral.
I haven't played it, so I can't say. Paula?
I have no memory for names, so...
But you know who I mean. You know what I mean. When after a while, once you start doing the act of mercy, she's doing her attacks on you, and you see that the attacks start purposely moving away from you. It's those little subtle things there which helps, and also just the dates which you have. They are just hilarious, especially when you just destroy a kitchen on one date, and the skeleton guy just having a good laugh at everything that you're doing and such. It was a joyful little game. Quick one to finish, and I really just enjoyed it for what it was. Let's get to number 3, shall we? God of War Ragnarok. I really enjoyed the Norse version of this, and then the Ragnarok, it just continues on with the story. It really delves a lot into the main stick of the Norse mythology, and you get some really cool fights. Heimdall, Thor, Odin, those are really good fights to actually go through. As well as actually Guam as well. And there are great moments in this as well for Kratos and Atreus. So you play both characters. But yes, play as both characters. And And also the ending is so bittersweet. Basically, oh man, that is another game which got me in tears. That last line, a hole. Basically, if you know what I mean by a hole, you know what I'm on about.
Yeah, I haven't played it, so.
That went over our heads, I think, because
I'll be honest. While I really enjoyed the God of War series, you kind of need to play at least the three originals, then the Norse one before you get to Ragnarok. And
thankfully, I've played all the others. I just haven't played this one, so I'm definitely keen.
It was, a really good game. I'm actually probably going to be looking to keep playing Valhalla after finish Horizon Forbidden West actually as well. See what that's like. I've heard it's basically, again, spoiling myself on these things, but I've heard it's very much like Hades, basically, a roguelike.
Okay.
And free DLC, who can complain?
Yeah, cool.
Yep. On to the number 2, Persona 5. Again, Game of the Month game. This actually was the Game of the Month for last year's December.
Right.
Due to the length, though, I was not able to finish it in time. And it ended up being finished as the first thing I played last year.
Understandable.
But this one, I mentioned in the Itch.io games, there was one game which I think it was Core. I can't remember what in the Core was it? Where you use the rock, paper, scissors. Persona 5 does the same thing.
Yeah.
But it does it a lot better, in my opinion, because basically a lot of enemies, certain ones could get away with not actually having a weakness, but you can hit them with crits to get that weakness. You hit them with the weakness, and then you can actually do like an all-out attack on them. And it's so stylish in how it does these things. And the story, again, I'm big on the story, and it's just really well done and such. The music as well. Oh, that music! It's I still got Rivers in the Desert in my head sometimes, and I still listen to that on replay quite often. But it's. I really thoroughly enjoyed this. I only played the 5. I didn't play Royal. I don't think it's worth going back for Royal. But I really glad I actually picked this up for the Game of the Month, and it was a very good recommendation, that one.
I'm guessing that was 100+ hours, that one.
That one was our first 100+ hours, 121 minutes. I could piece that one. The slice of life sections as well, and the turn-based actions and such. I just overall really enjoyed that one.
Nice.
I cannot say the same, because even though like the overflow of the game, the gameplay was kind of nice, I really didn't vibe with the story, and I hated like half of the characters. And I'm more of a fan of the Shin Megami Tensei games, but even like on the Persona series, Persona 5 is the one that I dislike the most.
Oh, you like Persona 1 and 2 more?
Well, I haven't played those, but from the modern Persona games, I enjoyed Persona 3 Portable. And I absolutely loved the shit out of Persona 4 and Persona 4 Golden. But Persona 5, I just couldn't. Like, I finished the game. I completed it. But there was, like, even at the end of the game, I was, like, just waiting for that aha moment, and it never came.
I can't really speak on this, because this is the first Persona game I ever played. So, I guess it's a really good gateway in for someone like me, because it made me look into the Persona 3 and 4s. I have heard of people say don't do 1 and 2, so that's something which...
It depends, because 1 and 2 are more in line with the Shin Megami Tensei series, which I enjoy a lot. But the modern Persona, the one that people usually talk about and most people love, is Persona from Persona 3 onwards. But if you like that, like the social aspect of the modern Persona games rather than the combat, then yeah, stay on modern Persona. But if you like the combat itself and more of like the mechanics and stuff, then jump into Persona 1 and 2 and 2 Innocent Sin.
It's something which I can look into, but again, I don't think they're doing remasters or remakes of those ones. They seem to only doing 3 and 4, so it's going to be difficult for me to get hold of those ones, I believe. Maybe I might agree with you if I actually played the other Persona games, but this is the first Persona game, and it just showed me what the Persona series can be like, and I really enjoyed what it showed me. So finally, number 1 game. I'm sure you're going to have this one often, and I think you can see this is going to be the other game, which is now I'm spoiling it. It's the other game, which is over 100 hours. The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom.
Have to
Yep.
finish that fucking game.
I've heard that's a long game.
Just to give you a thing, I'll actually check at my the length as well. This one took me 151 hours to complete.
Wow.
I think that makes it fourth in terms of games. In terms of games, let me just quickly check.
Like overall.
Sixth, actually. Overall, although the games above it are Red Dead Redemption 2, the Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 and 2.5 remix. Kind of don't count that one, so we move that. Elden Ring, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and then Rocksmith 2014. So two of them you can kind of remove because they're a bit different to the others. They don't have a start and end. Well, Kingdom Hearts does, but it's multiple games. It's like 9 games in one group. So yeah, no, that's funny. Rocksmith is just basically it's just a game to play your guitar against, really. So you can't really count that. So in terms, it is basically fifth, basically. Fourth.
Yeah,
no,
that's
yeah,
decent.
Fourth. Yeah.
So what makes it Game of the Year, though?
So yeah, it took what Breath of the Wild did, and it just improved on it. And I consider Breath of the Wild a fantastic game. That one was my Game of the Year for that year as well. The reason Breath of the Wild worked was its open-ended nature of the open worlds. I found a lot of open worlds basically give you a list of things to do and say, you can go over there, it's over there. It's like a big checklist. Well, basically, the Breath of the Wild, the Tears of the Kingdom, they just give you, okay, there's something over there. Go find it if you want to look for it. The original big thing I had against it though was that it didn't have the same defeat Ganon at the start of the whole game. You know?
Yeah.
It didn't have that one overarching thing to do. Spoilers, you can actually reach the end game at the start of the game, so it's still there if you wanted to do that. But it improves on all the things which was wrong. The how it deals with the durability, where it gives you a lot more options to actually build weapons instead of just here's a big strong weapon and then that's just going to crack at some point. Instead, it gives you here's all the items you can create this big strong weapon. Just create it when you need a new one. It does that very well. The dungeons are much more bigger. They do follow the same pattern. That's one of my main complaints about it. It's like you go to the temple, you have to find 4 things, come back, defeat the boss. But they're much more ablative. They utilize. I guess the best way of putting it is the new item system inside of the dungeons, which is your companions, quite well. And they are just big, massive things, and they're just a joy to play through those dungeons. It increases the range of the levels without actually changing the whole map. That map was completely different from the Breath of the Wild, and still how you had that familiarity with it, but you going to different locations you've been to before and just seeing how things have changed are really joyful. And there were also some great little stories in there. One of my favorite is during the Anson's village. I'm not gonna spoil this one, but the story involving that the Anson's the mayor at the Anson place and his daughter was just a joy to actually just get.
Yeah, I'm like halfway through that quest, so but I can see like where it is going, and I'm really liking that side quest.
It's really cute, ain't it?
Yeah, it is. Also, I have to say, like, you know how in Breath of the Wild, like the dungeons were like very, very short, but the way to the dungeon was like half of it. I don't know, like half of experience. But in Tears of the Kingdom, I've only done one dungeon so far, the one in the from the Rito.
The wind dungeon.
Yeah, and getting to the dungeon. Holy crap.
I'm going to say that is the worst one to get to. Everything else is a bit more easy to get to.
Yeah, I was a little bit lost at one specific section where I was supposed to gain altitude in a way, but I kept on failing, and it was like, oh crap, there was like that one thing all along, and I was able to gain altitude by doing that thing. So that maybe like half of the time was trying to figure out like how the fuck to get past that specific hurdle. But yeah, like the path to the dungeon was treacherous. Like it felt adventurous, even though I'm like, oh my god, that it took way too long. It felt like a treacherous path, where you were probably not supposed to be. And I don't know, like the sense of adventure of actually getting there was totally like worth it for me.
Yeah, it's a really good little thing, I thought, just getting there. The other ones are more involving of the characters. There's something happening in the area and you have to fix it. So it's not
Yeah.
going to be the big trail which you're going to get through the other temples, but they still build up the temples quite well, I thought. Certain ones involve... I'm not going to spoil nothing. Sorry, no spoilers there. But yeah, I've got a lot more to talk about this because we haven't even mentioned the buildings functionality in that game. I'm no good builder, but still being able to build those objects, especially when I'm down in the depths, just to get around, get myself a little plane and just go fly around because I can't be bothered to deal with all the things on the bottom. That was always a good laugh to do. Again, the durability and those things are annoying. It's like, oh, I'm flying in the middle of the air and then my plane disappears. Like, thanks.
One of the things like building this thing and finding like batteries and stuff and attaching the batteries to there, but since it is very, very dark in the underground, I was trying to avoid like a specific enemy that was looking like not so kind. So I went and did like made a little aircraft and flew my way over like to the other end of the cliff. But I ran out of battery somewhere in the way. So I had to rely on whatever inertia I had on that little aircraft before it started like deflating and it disappeared because those do that.
Yeah.
I made it like just by the skin of my teeth.
Yeah. I remember actually the depths as well, quite interesting. I'm not again. Oh, I'm gonna spoil this. I was so happy to find out that the light routes. When I figured out that the light routes are at the same location as the shrines up above,
Yeah.
I realized I could use this to find all the shrines on the main story, and I was like, oh, got all the shrines on the main map. That was a good laugh. And oh god! And then also just trying to fly around the sky. I just try to figure out, can I get to there? And just going, keep on, stay with me, you little machine. Down. It's hugely open. It rewards experimentation. It's just a perfect game for in terms of exploration. Ganon in this is really frightening, especially in the final fights, and he was a really difficult boss to fight. It's just really well done, and I'm glad I played it. Basically, it's massive game, of course. Like I said, 151 hours, but I enjoyed every minute of it.
Fantastic. Paula, did you want to test Nob's color interpretation skills?
So I have a little board with 3 character cards from various of my games. You have to pick like the color you feel like is the most predominant. That includes like the character and the actual background of the card. It doesn't include the board that contains the cards. Yes, a little clarification there. So yeah, which color do you see here? Like the one you see the most?
Ooh, I could say that's the goldish yellow color.
Okay, now you have to pick a color that is not that goldish yellow that you just saw.
Magenta.
Okay, I'm gonna do my best to try to find something magenta between my character cards.
Nice. Up in the ante.
Thank you very much for your cooperation on that.
I just have to be obscure.
You just have to be the harbinger of chaos here.
Like that last time I was on.
Well then, thank you very much, Nolf, for being here. sharing your thoughts on Game of the Year.
And we really do appreciate it. So
Yeah, you're welcome.
hope you have a great Christmas/holiday/New Year.
Merry Christmas and Happy Hogmanay to everyone.
Thanks, Nub.
So very good.
Bye.
Okay. Well, Paula, that's been quite a few Game of the Years already from community members, and my gosh, I hope we don't have many more, but hang on. What's that?
Mm-hmm.
I think I can hear a rumbling in the distance. Like there's a worm tunneling its way through to the recording.
Oh, man. Indeed.
And, oh, who's that? Hey, oh, it's June. Hi, June. How you doing?
Hey, Abatage, hey, Pokepaw, Josh, Paula, how you doing?
Welcome.
Very
Great to
well
see
here.
you. How's your holiday season been?
Oh, man. It's been fun. We got COVID a couple of weeks ago.
Ooh,
Oh, it's not
That's
so fun.
Yeah, no, there's a little sarcasm in there. Yeah, right around Thanksgiving, I started getting it first, and then it spread to the whole house. So that kind of made everything tough. And wife and little Dune were both about to start work and preschool, respectively, and we had to push all that stuff back. And but I mean, like COVID-wise, it was all very mild. It was more of an annoyance than anything. So thankfully, it wasn't too bad. It was just a little bit stressful having all this other stuff scheduling wise and big changes in the routine kind of happen in parallel with that. So we didn't really feel like it was holiday time until just recently when we all kind of got healthy and were able to start thinking about fun stuff to do. But now it's been good. Like we did this fun thing at the Oregon Zoo where they have a nighttime event where the whole zoo is lit up with all kind of lights and ride like the train, and the train is all Christmased out with lights, and it was just really, really unique. But we're starting to enjoy it now, and I've got some time off coming up, so hopefully I can get some more good gaming time in for the end of the year, along with all the fun family stuff.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I mean, Paula and I have been hanging out and talking to some other How Long to Beat peeps about what 2023 has been like for them as a gamer. So, hey, seeing as you happen to be here, what we'll ask you the same thing.
Playing this year, yeah.
Yeah, what's 2023 shaped up like for you in the world of gaming?
Oh man, thankfully, How Long to Beat tracks such things, because I would have honestly forgotten so much. Because my gaming year has definitely been broken up into some different arcs, if you will, or eras. For example, I started the year, I started the end of last year playing Persona 5 Royal, which I think was December Game of the Month in 2022.
Yeah, that rings a bell.
I think that's true. Someone could fact check that. And I played that nonstop until mid-March. That was pretty much like the only thing I was playing, and I played it on Switch, so I was hitting that pretty hard. I'm pretty sure it was about 120 hours or so on that for everything-ish. Well, I mean, it's a big game, especially the Royal version. And then I got really into Dark Souls and Demon Souls. I finally finished my playthrough of Dark Souls, which was my first time playing anything in the Souls series.
Nice.
And then I did a replay on Steam Deck, because I got my Steam Deck kind of in the springtime, which that's pretty much the only thing I've played on it. So really great purchase so far.
An old game that's been remastered.
Yeah, and I mean, I did play the remaster, and it ran very nicely and looked good on deck. But and then I played Demon Souls about 5 times on 3 different characters. Just for some reason, I just wanted to keep playing it. I thought it was kind of fast paced to beat. The level based structure I thought was great, and I honestly really enjoyed Demon Souls, the remake on PS5.
Yeah.
And then I jumped right into Dark Souls 2 and kind of was tired of Souls after that, just because it was Dark Souls 2. And
I can highly recommend getting on to Dark Souls 3 when you're ready.
Yeah, Dark Souls 2 is kind of like the black sheep of the series.
From what I've heard too. And I plan on doing the basically all the Soulsborne stuff in order. So Bloodborne would be next in the queue, and I'm very excited about that. And I'm also kind of maybe waiting for, maybe a remaster or something. There is a 60 FPS unofficial hack thing you can get on PS5, which last time I looked into it was questionable, but maybe it'll work at some point if not a proper remaster. So I'm holding out a little bit.
Yep.
Finished up a bunch of other stuff that I had kind of started way back years ago. Like I finally finished my playthrough of Dragon Age Origins in August, and
Cool.
I kind of had started that years ago. But then the end of the year has really been dominated by Elite Dangerous for me, which I've really been no-lifing hard since about September. Steam tells me I've played it about 740 hours in 3 months, like September till now.
Excuse me? What?
Yeah, and some of that is menu idle time, I think, but not too much. I mean, I
Okay.
literally played it more than I worked on my real job. Hopefully my boss isn't listening to this. I don't think he is. But
Knock on wood.
yeah, if he is, hi Phil. But man, something about that game just really got its hooks in me hard this year. I had played it when it released first on PC, which was in 2014 or 2015 or something, but I never got too far. I only did a handful of hours on it. But this time, I mean, it's a whole different game by now with so many updates and revisions and DLC and stuff. But I got super into the one part of the end game content of it, which is basically combat against these alien craft, mostly in a one-on-one kind of thing. And you kind of progress from the easiest one, which is still pretty hard, up through the levels to the hardest one, which is the fourth one. And it takes quite a bit of investment of time and practice and stuff to get, from one to the next. And I currently haven't even gotten the hardest one. I kind of am taking a break because I got just a bit burnt out and it's so hard and I just was not having fun anymore. People are like, you got to train by doing this and this. I'm just like, man, I don't think I want to train for a video game right now, at least.
It started being work instead of just taking more than work.
So I just want to put things into perspective. You played that game. You gave that game the double of time I gave to every game that I completed this year.
Wow.
So yeah, that's a lot of time. Like I still have like hours that aren't logged into the stats page because I haven't finished those games, like Tears of the Kingdom. but yeah, the 700 hours is like a lot of time, dude.
It's insane. Yeah, I mean, even divide that by 3 months, that's at least a couple hundred and change hours a month. And I mean, it was not uncommon that I would play it the entire workday, have some family time, dinner, spend several hours with the family, and then when Lil Dune went to bed, boot up and play a good like 4 more hours at night. It was very much deep into addiction territory. But I actually haven't played it in about a week, and been diving hard into Cyberpunk 2077. Getting back on some single player games. And I have some thoughts on that, but none of those are what I'd call my game of the year. In fact, Elite is very much not my game of the year. It's got so many flaws and frustrations. I don't regret the time I played it, and actually got in deep with some good community as a part of it. But I would say my game of the year is absolutely Disco Elysium, which I just played back in August. And I don't know why I chose to play it finally this year, because I've been having it in my backlog and owned it for a couple of years. But it just felt right. It just kind of jumped out at me from the list. And man, it took about 30 something hours for my playthrough. I only did one playthrough. Of course, I didn't see all there is to see because you can basically build your character with different stats and have different dialogue and different outcomes of things. But I did quite a lot. I feel like I got a pretty deep experience from the game, but just its themes, its characters, the way it executed its story, pretty much every aspect of it I thought was brilliant, and it really stuck with me for a long time. I definitely will replay it at some point and do kind of like the total opposite of my current character, which that character was happy to use drugs and alcohol as much as it served the the investigation, but functional, and also more of like the brainy, empathic type character. So I think the just belligerent buffoon that's all body oriented would make a fun secondary playthrough. But
Yeah.
I'll save that for some other time.
I have an important question to ask.
Sure.
Did your necktie talk to you?
Oh yeah, right away.
Finally, I found someone else who talked with their necktie.
Yeah, I forget the names of all the stats because they have some very, very interesting word choices and vocabulary. I mean, the game has a very deep vocabulary. If you're a literature or words nerd, you'll definitely like that game. But whatever that stat was my main stat, and so the kind of weird connection to the supernatural or just the weird shit in the universe was my character's strongest stat. So all that weird shit I saw a lot of, and I think that was perfect for the game. I mean, it fit the game really well.
I really need to play that. I've had it on my backlog for a while.
You really should.
Yeah, and the music is really good too. It's incredible.
Yeah.
I actually don't think I've ever heard anyone say a bad word about Disco Elysium, which is rare.
You could say a lot bad about the circumstances of the mess between the creators and the publishers and all that stuff. And there's an ongoing lawsuit that I don't know what the latest on that is.
Okay.
There's a bit, but there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff going on there.
Yeah, wow.
But the game itself, I think, is absolutely brilliant masterpiece. I can't really put any critique on it that I remember still. All that's stuck with me, which it's now been 4 months since I finished it, is just positive memories.
Awesome.
Really special game.
Yeah. Well, you've just put it higher on my list.
Yeah. Good.
That's rad. Yeah, Paula, what's this imagey thing you want to do?
Okay, so I'm gonna send you a little picture from my board over here.
I see it. Dominant color?
Yeah.
Pink?
Okay, let's record that and name a color that is not pink, which will be put in the board for the next person to see.
Blue.
Blue. Okie dokie. Thank you for your cooperation.
I'm quite curious what kind of psychoanalysis you're going to do based on that.
Oh, awesome. Well, yeah, thanks for dropping by, June, and sharing with us your 2023. And I hope you and yours have a good new year, and 2024 is just as good, if not better. Hopefully less COVID.
And thank you for proving that I'm not crazy, because none of my friends nor my boyfriend has had their neckties speak to them. So they were saying that I was crazy and imagining things.
That's the whole point of Disco Elysium, is to be crazy and question reality, right? So, I mean, just say, that's just the game. Well, awesome. Yeah, I'm quite curious to see how the next year goes for my gaming, because this kind of thing, like what I described for this year, is very typical. I'll jump from something to something else, and go super, super hard for a while, and then pivot. And I didn't even say the all the unciv, but I was playing too in parallel with a lot of that.
Yep.
Josh, you remember all the Civ stuff we played last year, and I got really big into unciv, the open source.
Yeah.
5, made all the sprites for, well, not all the sprites, but I made a sprite set for that, and finally quit that addiction in June. And just a few months later started a new addiction. So what new addictions will 2024 bring? I hope to get through a lot more single player games, because those multiplayer games will get you, man. They'll just suck your time. And
well, I mean, at least you get value out of your experiences. Like, I'm probably a lot more flaky because I jump around between lots of things and never finish anything. So
I'm like in the middle point, I guess.
Yeah. And the goal is not only to finish games. I mean, the goal is to have fun with the hobby, right?
Exactly.
So as long as that's happening, and I do think I'm going to go back and try to get that hardest alien fight done in Elite, because taking just a little bit of time off, and my mind is still kind of turning on what can I do better, what strategies can I do. Oh, I should try this. So I really think I can do it, and I really want to try for it, but I just sometimes need a break. So so we'll see. Maybe in 2024 I'll vanquish the Hydra. That's what it's called.
Awesome. Well, I wish you best of luck with that, and I'm sure Paula agrees with me that we want to hear about it when you do.
Yeah. And again, thank you very much for coming into the show.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Can't wait to hear the episode and hear everybody's thoughts.
Well, yes. Be gone with you, slither away back to your desert.
I'm a forest worm now. Was a desert.
Oh, forest worm. Get to your trees.
Yes, I will.
And yeah, thanks again for coming on.
All right. Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Oh, there's been a lot of guests on so far, hasn't there? My, what's some Game of the Year picks?
There's been some very interesting picks, not gonna lie. Also, we're just past the, I guess, 2/3 of the episode, but so let us keep on going just a little bit more.
But it seems like we have someone else at the door. Who's there?
Guess who? It's me. It's Frozen Roy from the Fantasy Critic podcast.
It's Frozen Roy, our good friend. How you doing, Frozen Roy?
I'm doing pretty good, I would say.
Cool. Thanks for dropping by. Lovely to see you.
I'm always happy to be here.
We're talking about 2023 and our experiences in gaming. And we've been hearing from lots of our fellow Hell on to Beat community members. And I guess seeing as you're here, we might as well hear from you as well.
Man, it's crazy. It's almost like I was invited on. Don't let it wait, though. But yeah, I'm happy to come on and talk about 2023.
Yeah, so what's it been like for you? What has 2023 felt like for you as a gamer, as opposed to other years, perhaps?
As a gamer, unfortunately, busy.
Nice.
This kind of been a year where, like 2 years ago, I completed like 30 or so games. This year, I've only finished about 10, unfortunately. I kind of had real life stuff popping up. Didn't quite get to finish all the things I wanted to. Fortunately, I did finish some good quality stuff, and I have some stuff I'm in the middle of I'm enjoying. But yeah, definitely I would say as an overall, bit wishing I got more done.
That's how it goes, I guess. Life can get in the way.
So let's not lament about the things you haven't played. What have you been playing this year?
Say, starting off, there was all the games that are kind of persistent that I'm playing, like Smash Brothers, got like another 2 characters to Elite, R-Knights, a little bit of Polycure, Slay the Spire. Just mixing that throughout the year, I would say is like, the core. Like, I think Smash Brothers was my most played game this year because I play with friends a bunch. But aside from that, I started off the year, pretty sure it was the first game I finished, is Octopath Traveler 2, because that came out in like February 23rd, yes. I want to say. I started that around the same time as Fire Emblem Engage, but I only finished Engage like within the last month, 3 weeks, I want to say.
I should finish that game too.
Yeah, I kind of got exhausted on the middle part of it a little bit. So I think that kind of knocked me off course with it, I would say. I've been playing some of the Itchmas games, like Sound Marine.
What have you been enjoying from there?
Unfortunately, basically, I've played through Sound Marine. I want to get through Lookout soon. I was actually happy with a lot of them. I'm probably going to go play that terrible Yoshi Goes to Tesco game, just because it's like 20 minutes. I'm kind of excited for, like, the negative side of it.
It's a bit of a trip. It's probably not as bad as at least I make it out to be. Other people don't seem to be so bothered, but
I mean, I've seen a few people who seem at least that bothered, but then there's some who aren't.
I didn't like it at all.
One other thing I did is I played a few games, not quite co-op per se, but one of them was co-op. But playing with friends is something I kind of increased this year. I went through Kirby Superstar for the first time. I played that entire game co-op with Nintendo Switch Online. That was a good time. I did a Soul Lock in Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green, which is like
yeah. Who was your Soul Lock partner?
They're a person from another chat, Raichu.
Oh, okay.
They're it was really fun, especially because they're not quite as into Pokemon as me. So there's a bit of a disparity. It also was a funny run because we both screwed up at one point early, so it led to a cascade of really having to switch around our teams repeatedly. I'm also getting through Fire Emblem Path of Radiance with a friend.
Was that the GameCube or the Wii one?
That's the GameCube. Radiant Dawn's the Wii one. Path of Radiance is the GameCube one.
Okay.
Is that like local multiplayer or?
Which one? Path of Radiance?
Like the GameCube stuff.
Oh, well, that would be just online because
Okay.
online. But with Path of Radiance, it's not a multiplayer game. We're both just streaming our runs to each other at the same time and
I
talking
see.
kind of thing.
Cool.
But yeah, there's some other ones. Like I started Live Alive, and I played like Strider 2. I went through Tetris. That was really fun.
You've beaten Tetris.
I've beaten Tetris.
Tetris never gets old.
I was always really bad at Tetris when I was younger, so I made a goal to get to 100 lines, which I did beat. So that was my personal
Nice.
finish.
Can you do all the fancy stuff like spinning when it's already in place and things?
Hell no. But
Yeah,
also
I can't do
especially not because it was GameCube Tetris, and you can't do that in Game Boy Tetris.
Oh, interesting.
Because that's before they introduced the feature, they just lock into place.
Old school. I like it.
Yeah. I've heard that's like a really good version of Tetris, so I started with that.
I remember when Game Boys were really popular and pretty much most people were just playing Tetris the whole time. So must have been a good version.
That's to be expected because, oh my god, Tetris just took the world by storm.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Tetris was insane. I mean, just if you want to just have a game to pop out on your Game Boy when you're traveling around, it's hard to beat a game of Tetris because it's fast too.
I think it's also like a perfect game for a handheld like Game Boy. So
Oh, absolutely. I feel like Tetris is like, I would say Tetris in a way is most at home on a handheld system.
yeah.
But
And you've beaten it.
yeah, I have beaten Tetris. It is finished. Impossible to go higher.
Oh, well done. That's very good. So whatever, before we get to like any kind of game of the year pick or anything, what's the main highlights? Like what games are you like, wow, that was something I played in 2023?
Oh, it could be like highlights in the sense of, oh, that's a good game, or highlights of, never touching that
too.
again.
Yeah, the ups and the downs.
Well, for negatives, I played. Sometimes I just play random games that are old because why not? I played Virtual Chess 64, and
Interesting.
because that's like
that's a thing.
At the time, it had a really modern chess engine, and I've played chess since I'm like 10 or 8 or something. So I was curious. That game has the worst loading you will ever see in a game. It literally took I timed it. It took like 10 minutes with the best engine to make a single chess move.
Wow.
Wow.
It's unplayable.
10 minutes a move is pretty special, yeah.
Yeah. On like the lower settings, it was playable, but kick it up to the expert settings, not so much.
Damn.
Let's see. Octopath Traveler 2 was definitely a highlight. Fire Emblem Engage, it was very up and down. Like, that game had some really high highs, but some real dips, but I would definitely say that was a highlight. Plus, I chatted with friends about it a lot. Tetris, as I mentioned. Path of Radiance has been really good. I've been playing Tears of the Kingdom. I kind of got knocked off course by life, but I went like 15 hours deep in that. It seemed really good. I really want to get back to it.
I think Paula feels that too.
I have like 55 hours of that. And I'm like not even a quarter of the game through.
I'm not even close to anywhere in that game. It seems like there's so much to explore, even compared to the first game, because of the whole underground segments.
Yeah, and also like the caves in the overworld too. And there's like a check for completion on those, where you have to get the chest, and then it's marked on your map as complete.
Oh,
and then the underground, as you said, then the underground.
That was 100%ing that game must be hell.
Definitely,
they
like
still
even
have Koroks, don't they?
Koroks are back. Yeah, Koroks are back. And actually, let me search real quick because I heard something about them being 1,000 instead of 900, like in the last game.
All right, I'm curious.
Are they the seeds that you're meant to find?
Yeah, they're the seeds that had like 999 in the first game or whatever.
I've heard of those. Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. There's 1,000 Kirk seats, but only 800 Kirk seat locations because some of them are like a Kirk and their friend, so they give you 2 Kirk seats.
Oh, that's right, because there's one of those in the starting area where you have to like get the Korok to their friend. All right, fellas, only 800.
It's less than in the last game, I guess.
They're making
Yeah,
it easy
it's
on
like-
you. Yeah.
Yeah, next game gonna be down to 700.
No.
I'd say for another one that's maybe a bit of a disappointing highlight is there's a Genesis platform called Rocket Knight Adventures, and I was pretty interested in it, but not really been the best experience. I might even retire it. Like, it's not terrible, like awful game, but just kind of doesn't really take advantage of the mechanics it has very well. Because you get like a rocket boost jump kind of thing, and you ping pong around the screen, which is actually pretty fun. But
Yeah, sounds cool.
it has maybe the worst like difficulty change between Japanese and English of that era I've seen.
Why?
The Japanese normal is the easiest mode in the American version. It's called like child mode. And you only get the true ending if you beat the absolute hardest mode in English, which is one life. And no continues.
Didn't that game kind of like got its difficulty settings like mixed up on the English release too?
Which game?
One of the Fire Emblem games. I don't remember if it was Thracia or something like that.
I think, well, Thracia didn't come over. I think it might actually have been Path of Radiance, actually. Or Radiant Dawn.
Right.
I think it was one of those. Like, hard is normal or something.
Well, cool exists for a reason. No, it doesn't say anything. Never mind.
Well, who knows? I do know I've heard like Fire Emblem difficulty issues. I just don't remember.
Yeah.
Sounds like you've had an interesting year, Mr. Frozen Roy.
Yeah, it's been up and down. Wild and turn around.
If you had to pick, what would be your game of the year for 2023?
Well, I'd say it's not really even a question, in part because I wouldn't count some of the other ones that, like, if I chose Smash Brothers, it would be Smash Brothers every year kind of thing, like, except for some years. Persistent, but Octopath Traveler 2. It was definitely Octopath Traveler 2. That game, it on the first one in every way. Like, the graphics are bad. Like, I started with Hikari in that game, and that starts with this really big battlefield with like hundreds of sprites in the background and stuff. And it's very dynamic. It's far bigger than anything the first game did.
Cool.
And then it kind of just rolled from there. I really like the voice acting in a lot of those parts. There's a few boss battles, really good voice acting. The story is much improved too. There's a lot more. Like the first game, it was kept extremely separate, which a lot of people, including myself, wish there was more inter-party interaction. This game added a lot more inter-party interaction. Like, not only connected stories that are like little side stories with multiple characters, but even just small things like different quotes for your party composition in battle based on who's going after who kind of thing. That just, it just adds a bit more layering to it.
Yeah, cool.
The class system was pretty complex. Just like the first game, it's a pretty easy game, but being able to experiment is always fun.
Yeah.
There's definitely a few parts I could change around. It wasn't a perfect game, but I really enjoyed it.
Cool. Fantastic. That's another one for the list.
I'm sure that we can get before this, and we're going to see, everyone picked it, obviously.
Well, you'll have to tune in to find out.
This episode is taking forever. So, yeah. I hope everyone really likes our really long episodes. Because this is one of those.
Well, I can tell you I do, so.
Well, yes. Thank you so much for dropping by. And any last final thoughts for going into 2024?
Thoughts going into 2024? Well, I got probably number one thought. I got Pikmin 4. Really wanted to play it. Didn't find the time. Definitely have to do that. But that's generally hoping to be a bit more active kind of thing.
Cool.
Just this year was good. Had a lot of really great games. Just didn't get to finish them next year. Got on that horse. I'm liking how the game challenge for next year is looking on the forums. So hopefully I'll be more active next year.
Some of your ideas on those were really, really good. And also thanks for the support on some of mine.
Well, I mean, you have really good ideas. So it's just natural, really.
If I say so myself. Sorry.
Well, I do hear someone else coming to the door. So thanks for dropping by, Froy. Really appreciate you coming on.
Hey, invite
And,
me back in sometime. I'll come on.
Yeah, awesome. Have a happy new year, and we'll see you in 2024.
Bye-bye.
Right.
It's been a fun episode so far.
It's been a long one too. Though, do you hear that? Do you hear like little insect legs like doing nothing
Yeah.
over there?
And faint accordion music.
Yeah, there's something going on here.
I think, hang on, there might be someone else here. Who's there?
Hello, it is me, Matt, the Roach Man.
Oh,
I've been going through your trash outside and I heard you were talking about games, so I crawled in here.
yeah, welcome. Pull up a seat.
Hell yeah. How are you today?
Very good, very good. It's been one hell of a lengthy special, let me tell you. But we've been talking to some friends about 2023 and gaming.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, let me tell you about my year of gaming. How about that?
Please do.
Okay, so honestly, 2023 in terms of gaming hasn't been that wild and sparkly for me as the previous years, mostly because my real life has been busy enough and I've spent most of my free time with reading books instead. But I still have some very memorable gaming moments of the year, and I think I also have a game of the year as well. Before I get to the actually good game, I want to talk about something of this year that I will never forget for the rest of my life. Because during the summer holidays, the summer vacation days, I spent a whole week going through the 3 existing completely separate kart racing games based on the old animated movie Ants, which is something that I still can't believe that exists. It would be wild if one kart racing tie-in game exists to this movie. Nothing in this movie ever alludes to any racing theme, and it's debatable if it's even appropriate for kids, this movie.
Yeah.
But somehow they made not one tie-in game with a racing mechanic, they made 3 completely separate ones on different platforms. And I think I'm proud to say to probably be the only person on the planet that has beaten all 3 of them. And they were all different kinds of terrible. I will never forget binge playing these games that week.
Sounds like quite the experience.
Oh, it was a very wild experience. Bugs need better representation in games. Thankfully, we have Hollow Knight these days, but back then with Ants Racing, rough times. Let me tell you that much.
And they're not ports of the same game. They're different games.
No, they are genuinely completely different. They are made by different developing studios as well.
Wow.
It's weird. It's weird.
Well,
but they exist.
I can confirm it is very weird. Like, I am looking at the box art for Ants Extreme Racing.
Oh, yeah.
And we are going into Uncanny Valley here.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I've never watched the movie Ants, but holy crap, these are horrible.
They don't make games like this anymore, I tell you. It's a shame.
There might be a reason for that.
There might be a reason for that, yeah. Honestly, other memorable gaming moments this year were going on a complete Atari binge, especially Atari 2500. I highly recommend everybody check out Miniature Golf and Bobby Goes Home. Those are bangers. Forget about the 2023 releases. That's where real gaming is at, honestly.
Well, I did play an Atari in the 80s, but I kind of forget what most of the games were called.
That's
and I just Googled was it Bobby's Going Home?
Bobby's Going Home, I think that's the title, yeah.
Yeah, it looks familiar.
I hope so. I mean, any cultured gamer childhood should include a game like that. Genuinely, though, Atari 2500 games, I didn't grow up with them, but it's a really nice time for games in a way. There's a lot of trash, but a good, simplistic game made with under these limited possibilities, whatever, is still like a really cool gaming experience, in my opinion. There's cool stuff even on there.
Well, it's interesting as well because as having worked as a graphic designer, when you're learning graphic design, a lot of it is about abstraction of real things, like simplifying things. And they actually use Atari games as examples for that, because
really?
They take something very complex and boil it down to a couple of squares on screen, but it still makes sense, kind of thing.
Oh, that's really interesting, actually.
Yeah,
that's
so it's
cool.
abstracting it kind of as far as you can go while still making it understandable. And even just for that reason, I think it's fascinating to play those games.
True, yeah. They have some whack sprite art too. It's wild what they made on there.
Whack, indeed.
And I want a third highlight of my year is probably because I didn't play that much. I didn't have any like big commitments at all during the year. The biggest in quotation marks game that I played was the original Gran Turismo on the PlayStation 1, which I spent a total of 24 hours on. And
that's pretty quick.
That will always stuck in my mind though, because I think it was a gateway for me into that semi-realistic racing subgenre, which is not usually something I care for.
Yeah.
And I only went into Gran Turismo for some nostalgic curiosity, but I ended up playing through the whole thing, through all of its different game modes, and 24 hours spent in this game, which it only has like a handful of tracks or whatever, but it's still such an engrossing racing experience. I really fell in love with this game, which I never expected. I never expected me to be a Gran Turismo kind of dude.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, those were my 3 most memorable moments this year.
We've got Ants games, Gran Turismo, and what was the other one?
And Atari 2500
Atari
games in
that's
general.
right,
Yeah.
Quite the variety, I'd say.
Yeah, I tried to get that in, the variety. As of Game of the Year, it was actually a difficult one. I didn't really play any. I played a couple of 2023 releases, mostly just random small stuff, none of which I would call a Game of the Year contender.
Mm-hmm.
I think if I actually had owned a Switch, F-Zero 99 would maybe be up there. I would have definitely spent a lot of time on that if I had the opportunity, I guess. Didn't happen though. I still can't believe Nintendo finally made something halfway creative and original with the F-Zero franchise. So I still want to mention this at least here, even if I didn't get to play more than an hour of it myself.
Mm-hmm.
Then I was thinking, other games that I really loved this year were top contenders are probably Scorn and Grounded, but both of those games I actually already talked about when I was on the podcast the last time, which is roughly a year ago. I did end up still playing them I did end up still playing them into this year and finishing them this year. So technically, I guess I could have called them a Game of the Year, whatever. But I refuse to. I already talked too much about them back last year. So my actual Game of the Year is gonna be for me Yoku's Island Express, which originally came out in 2018.
Yeah.
I could see if a lot of people might have already heard about this one because it's been given out for free a bunch, or like is on sale a whole lot. It's around.
I think I picked it up in a bundle somewhere, yeah.
Yeah, even the Epic Game Store gave it away as well at one point.
Right.
It's out there. Which is amazing to me because it's an amazing game. It's an incredible game that's so easily to get for cheap or free. Yoku's Island Express is a Metroidvania at its core, although I think it's a relatively short one. I think most Metroidvanias are on the longer side of things. Yoku's Island Express isn't that long. And I also said previously, last year when I was here, that Metroidvania isn't really my kind of genre usually. But there are always the few outliers that make it work for me. And Yoku's Island Express made it work for me incredibly hard because it's a pinball Metroidvania where the entire world's map is filled, like the environment is filled with pinball table mechanics, and your character moves through the world through pinball table mechanics. Your little bug rolling around with a little pinball. And there are flippers in the environment, and you have to shoot yourself everywhere, but it's still a full Metroidvania. And that was such a fresh and unique concept, a mix of things, that I genuinely fell in love with this. I even 100%ed this, which is not something I do often.
Yeah.
This is a hard recommend for anybody, especially if you coincidentally already have it in your backlog. Prioritize it. It's awesome.
Well, I've always seen it and thought it looked interesting, but I've always wondered, how well that blend between like pinball mechanics and what seems to be otherwise typical kind of platforming, how that kind of works.
Yeah.
But it sounds like it works well.
In my opinion, I think they did it perfectly. I had the same suspicions, like how are you going to make your entire movement in a lengthy game based on pinball mechanics, physics? That seems difficult to me too, but they figured it out, I think, with just really intelligent world design, level design. It's amazing, this thing.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm really curious about Yakuza Island Express now, because it is such a weird concept, such an interesting concept that is so foreign to me that I'm almost scared to try it out.
For sure, yeah. I hope you try it out at some point. Even if you don't like it, I think it's still worth a shot.
Yeah. Before you go, I have a little something here. So we're playing a little game here. I don't need to know what this is all about yet, but I just need to know which color or colors do you see prevalent here. I think the light is being stupid, but
you need me to know color, what color I see, or what I want.
What color you see, and also what color do you like?
I definitely want the pink. I think the lowest row, the third one, it looks pink to me. I like that one.
So yeah, and what do you see like in general? The more prominent color over here.
The most, either red or blue. I think it's red though. That's the most there.
There are no wrong answers. Just a little game you're playing here. So yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for your input. You'll know what the meaning of this is.
I'm very curious to find out
later. Thank you for being here, Matt. I've learned about games that I didn't know they existed, and now I am like seriously wondering what my life choices were that led me up to this point. Still, happy to have you here. Happy to know you're doing well, and also thank you very much for being here in the first place.
Yeah, again, thank you for having me here. Yeah,
back to the garbage with you.
Exactly. Yeah, I think I found another Arndt's game in your garbage, so I'm gonna go back and dig out there.
Yeah.
See you later.
See you.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Those were like so many guests so far.
I know, right?
We should probably like take a break. These episodes are already like kind of long. Not gonna lie. So
I can do with a drink.
Yeah, we should probably go get some drinks, stretch out a little bit, and we'll be back for the last segment, I guess.
Yeah, no worries. All right, I'll be back later.
Welcome back, baby. It's Rick and Alex. Say hello, Alex.
I've snuck in. I've waited. I'm playing the long con. 6 months just waiting, and now I'm back.
It's all been building up to this. We're back once again for the How Long to Speak podcast. And this week, boy, have we got a doozy for you. We're going to be talking games we've beaten, games we've retired, games we've been playing. We're going to be talking. Right.
Lots of talking.
Hey, well, what's going on here? What
are you guys doing? What happened here?
Hi. So we thought we'd just pop in. How are you?
Good. I walk away for 5 minutes.
We're going like for 5 seconds and you guys like snack in. Are you planning to hijack the whole operation here?
What gave you that idea? I'm offended, quite frankly.
Gee, you really took your time though, didn't you?
Listen, it takes a long time to set up this kind of mastermind operation. I have been behind the scenes all these months plotting, and it has all paid off just for this one moment right now.
You thought you'd seen all the spreadsheets. You were wrong.
Very wrong.
Damn. We should probably like secure our connections, like our connections, our firewalls and stuff like that. After this recording,
the translator's busted. These guys have got in. Everything's ruined this episode. This is what we get for having other people on.
Yeah.
See, the moral of the lesson is trust no one. that's today's holiday lesson.
Thank you for teaching us.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yes. Okay, see ya.
Well, you know,
Wait.
while you're here, you know, you might as well weigh in like everyone else has been. And
Yeah, why not?
we've been talking about 2023 and our years in gaming and game of the years and that sort of thing. So, you know, I'm sure you guys have got a lot to say.
Oh,
Very much.
Alex, do you want to go first, or shall I?
Why don't you go first, Rick? I'm gonna bow to you.
Why not? So my year in gaming, 2023, has been a mixed bag. We'll talk hardware first because I've had quite a depressing hardware year in gaming.
Oh no.
Mainly because of the Playdate saga. Now, a lot of this transpired after we sort of finished up our run, and this is a little bit of a podcast exclusive. So I got my Playdate like just in time for the last couple of episodes that we recorded. And I had it for about a month and a half, and I had a couple of little issues pop up. There were a couple of dead pixels on the screen. The vinyl on the D-pad bubbled up. It wasn't very comfortable under the thumb. It kind of popped, and there were scraggly bits. And the crank oxidized. It went like a really weird sort of shiny purpley color. So I messaged Panic. I was like, look, I don't expect you to replace the whole thing. Like, I'll deal with the dead pixels. But could you send me a replacement D-pad, please, so I can swap it in? And they were like, well, we don't offer replacement parts. Do you want us just to swap the console out? This was at the very end of September. And I said, yeah, that'd be great, actually. So they gave me a shipping label. I posted it out. October came, and October went. November came, and November went. On the 8th of December, I finally got confirmation of a return being posted. I picked up that return on the 23rd of December, so Christmas Eve. You know, I've been waiting a long time, but it's great. You know, I'll have it in time for Christmas. I can get my backups restored and go again. The box was empty.
What?
The box was fucking empty.
Oh
No cable,
God.
no play date, just an empty fucking yellow box. I could have thrown hands. I was livid. And it's Christmas, so obviously they're off. So I'm waiting to hear back on that. But the saga continues into 2024.
Oh my God, you're just in Playdate limbo.
I really am. The irony is, over the course of the year, 10% of my completions were Playdate, even though I had it for less than 2 months. But they are they are itty-bitty little games, so that is sort of understandable. And it breaks my heart even more because I love the damn thing. I took it on holiday. It's like the perfect Sun Lounger console because that screen sings in the sunlight. And and then I got an Android controller for my phone, and the stick on that's busted, and I've had it like a week. So it's not been my year for hardware and consoles, but on the software front, it's been great. I've done lots of co-op gaming. We've recently actually played, I think you guys played this in some configuration, a game called Escape Academy on Game Pass.
Yeah, we played it a while ago.
Yeah, we played it together. Yeah, I remember playing that. That was a good game.
Yeah, I've been playing it too.
It's a good game.
Killed it, I might say.
Yeah, we really did. I honestly.
You beat those damn escape scientists.
Yeah,
damn right.
With I mean, the story sucks, but it's an escape route, but it's like a co-op game, and it works beautifully for that. Played lots of sort of replays of games that I had really enjoyed in the past. So I've almost done a complete replay of Muramasa again. I did my annual replay of The Swapper. I replayed Yoku's Island Express, the cutest little pinball Metroidvania. I also, this year, and I should probably send you guys a list. I know this isn't super conducive to podcasting, but I did this year, and I'm going to do again next year, what I called my gaming times fives. So what I did is I picked a load of platforms. I picked 5 games for each platform at the start of the year. And my challenge to myself was that I would try and play as many of those as I could possibly manage over the course of the year. And on some platforms, I was really successful. So I played 3 of the 5 PC games that I had planned. I played 4 of the 5 Vita games I had planned. 4 of the 5 3DS games I had planned. It also finally prompted me to play and beat Radiant Historia, which is probably my game of the year. Fantastic RPG. I don't know about the 3DS version. I stuck to the DS original because I do not like those new character portraits. But the game in its original form is still fantastic. On PS3, I started one of them. So it wasn't a resounding success, but on the whole, it absolutely pushed me to try things that I might not have otherwise tried. And I'm going to be doing this again in 2024. So I'm currently drafting my list for that.
Very ambitious.
Well, you shoot for the moon and you fall amongst the stars. That's how it goes. And yeah, I think to go back to my 2023 game of the year, it has to be Radiant Historia. It was such a phenomenal story, a phenomenal combat system, the likes of which I don't think I've seen before, and I don't think I'll see for a long time hence. And it's the only non-replay game of 2023 that I gave a 10 out of 10. Honorable mentions. I played a game on Playdate called Bloom, which was beautiful and really, really affecting for a game that's effectively an idler about clicking on plants and reading someone's text logs. What other games would I give an honorable mention? Desta, The Memories Between, which is it's on Switch now, but it was originally a Netflix exclusive, which was a lot of fun. It's like a dodgeball roguelike, which, like Yoku's Island Express, it's 2 things that you wouldn't necessarily think quite work together, but they really do. Donut Counting, hilarious. It's well worth a go. I mean, if you've got a Netflix subscription, it comes as part of that, so you're probably already paying for it. If you don't, it's on Switch. I think it's a little bit overpriced at full price, but bound to go on sale. Are there any other honorable mentions? I don't think I've got anything jumping out at me. One final honorable mention. Revita, possibly the best roguelike I've ever played. I rank this above Hades, personally, which I think says it all, really. It's 2D, it's twin stick. There's a lot of replay value, but it's also the kind of roguelike that you can see the base ending in a very reasonable amount of time. So I think it ticks lots of boxes there.
Cool.
2 dishonorable mentions briefly before I hand over to yourself, Alex. Metropolis.
Well, before we get to that,
go on.
I have a question about your game of the year. Because I have never heard of it, so I looked up Radiant Historia.
I can never hear of it.
What makes this special? Because it looks like every other JRPG to me.
And the devil is in the detail with these things. So,
yeah.
Radiant Historia came to prominence for a few reasons, all overlapping. It's an Atlas RPG.
Okay.
It got a very, very limited print run, so it's quite hard to come by for a long time. They actually did a reprint of the DS version. Such was the demand for it before it eventually got a 3DS remake. It has a time travel mechanic, which drew easy, somewhat lazy comparisons to Chrono Trigger. And it came out at the back end of the DS's life cycle, with the 3DS not really kicking on. And so I think it got a lot of attention, more so than it might have otherwise. In terms of what makes this game special, this game handles time travel in a slightly different way to Chrono Trigger. So rather than your whole party moving through time in a combined way where they're all aware of this, the main character, Stock, is given the ability to move between different nodes on a true and an alternate timeline of history, so as to influence events in the world and try and prevent the world's destruction. He wields what is called the White Chronicle. There is a mysterious figure wielding the Black Chronicle, and they are also jumping through history, manipulating things in a negative way to try and bring about the world's destruction. Stock is the only character for the vast majority of the game who knows that's happening. So you have information that your party does not, and the game handles that really delicately. It has a wonderful story, and it's really hard to pull off a time travel story without tying yourself in knots. This game does that. It's emotional beats. It's engaging throughout. The game also has a really unique battle system where you have no formation, so to speak, but your enemies are fighting on a 3x3 grid and different characters, and you're forced to experiment with them because depending on the timeline and the point in history, you will have different party members, have abilities to move enemies around the battlefield, lay traps on different nodes on the 3x3 grid, and if you attack a grid space and you've pushed multiple enemies onto that space, you can hit all of them.
Okay.
And so the battle system, as well as the story, is very, very fresh and very unique in that sense. And rather than being unique for uniqueness' sake, it all comes together. It's a really tight sort of 25 to 35 hour RPG, depending on how much of it you want to see and how truly you want to complete it. I, short of a couple of superfluous side quests, basically 100%ed it. It took me, I think it was 33 hours. And even picking at it over a couple of months, I thoroughly enjoyed my time with it. As I say, there is a 3DS version, but I think based on everything I've seen and read, the DS version is the way to go in terms of experiencing it. But it was highly regarded at the time. It's still highly regarded now, and I would lend my weight to that. I think it's really genuinely excellent.
Cool. Yeah, no, that sounds interesting because as a JRPG / Nintendo pedant, yeah, I don't know much about it at all. So, and screenshots make it look just like any other JRPG. So,
yeah, and it's.
But I can see the appeal with the battle system and all that. Yeah.
I don't think it necessarily got fantastically marketed at the time. I certainly found out about it a couple of years after the fact. But it's one of the nice things about the 2023 setup I did. This is a game that has been sat on my shelf for several years now. It's moved with me through 3 or 4 different houses, and I've never made the time to play. You've got a game and you're really looking forward to it, and you almost put it off because you want it to be the right time. You want to be ready to give it everything and love it. And having it on the list made me to go, I've got to just start it. I've got to try it. And I'm really glad that I did that this year. I don't really want to talk about my dishonorable mentions now.
It's up to you.
You're quite happy now.
I don't want to bring the vibe down. Do you know what? I'll do one because there's a tinge of happiness to it. I dipped my toe in Virtual Boy emulation this year.
Ooh.
The one game I've played so far is Jack Bros, the lost first ever Shin Megami Tensei title to officially be released in the West.
Yes.
It sucks ass. I mean, it's not a good game, but it's a nice little piece of history that I have ticked off for myself. And that's the positive note on which I'm going to leave that.
Nice. Well, Alex.
Okay.
How's your playdate been treating you compared to Rick?
Yeah, I didn't do much playdate this year, to be honest. I think I kind of waited for Rick. I got back in a little bit when Rick got his, and I was playing a bit then, but I haven't played much since. I mean,
yours is wasted on you.
I've already played like all of them is the thing, I already went through and played all of the main ones. So, but my year, so okay, like just to give you an idea of like my stats, right? Like when I started the podcast, 2020, 82 games, 2021, 119, 2022, 99. This year, 33. So I have really dropped off. Rick and I talked about this a little bit in the Discord. When I left, I almost like detoxed in some ways from games. Like my interest kind of plummeted hard. And I think I had to kind of rediscover a little bit like the fuck is my relationship with games and like how do I want to be playing them and what do I want to be playing, right? Because my selection criteria for games beforehand was different. It was like, is this not super long? Can I have an interesting conversation about this? I think shorter experiences that maybe I could kind of bite into a little bit. But then I kind of changed. So like my year, I would honestly say it has been dominated more by like in-person gaming than video games in a lot of ways. I run a TTRPG for the high school I teach at. I run like Lord of the Rings role playing. So like I'm the lore master for that. Yeah. And so all those figures that I painted for Lord of the Rings work in that. So I have this huge campaign going. There's like tons of players. We're meeting every week and stuff. And so that has actually like, and funny enough, a lot of my like, I realized like all the podcasts and all the gaming and stuff, it was like, I know a lot about encounter design and campaign design and story and like all these other, you know what I mean? Like all this stuff, like I started reading books on this stuff and I was like, oh, right. this is just what video games were based off of. Okay. Like had that moment where I was like, oh, how have I never done this before? Right. Because I didn't have people, I had to move lots of cities. So I just never had people who were kind of like together for that. But now I've kind of entered into this world. In fact, I even teach it in my English classes now. We use different like D&Ds and also just like tabletop games in class with the students, and they friggin' love it.
Nice.
They get right into it, So like my gaming knowledge and experience has like really benefited me as, like a game master in a lot of ways, right? And so I've been able to kind of pour my creativity into that. But I did sort of kind of come back to playing some more games as well. Like I sunk much of my life into Baldur's Gate 3. Never actually, that game I'll talk about a bit because like I feel like the right answer is just that's my game of the year because it truly is like the greatest thing I've played in a long time. Like it's an incredible testament to gaming. Like it's an unbelievable game. Like when I play that thing, I'm like, what the fuck? Like how did they even do this? Like because there's just so much in it. But it also has the problem of a lot of these big RPGs where when you get to the final act, it's like now everybody is so strong that like every big encounter you get to is like, and you're such a high level now that you have all of these like spells and all these things to figure out that it becomes too much and it became overwhelming for me. And so I just retired it because I was like, I think I've got everything I needed. And like, to be fair, I retired it after like 130 or something hours. Do you know what I mean? So like, and weirdly enough, it also felt to me like, I didn't, but like it was weird because like it didn't feel bad. And this is what I think was one of the fun things was like I retired it and I was like, yeah, but I don't care how it ends because like that's not really the point. You know what I mean? Like it was like the point of this is the adventure I'm going on, which is also the point of Dungeons and Dragons in general, right? Like sure they have endings, but they have endings, right? Like and then they continue on. And so for me, I was just kind of like maybe someday I'll go back. Like it's there. If I want to go back, I can. But like. It was one of those weird games where it was like, I got the endings to a number of things that I wanted and I had the experience I wanted. And like, I think I'm fine,
I'm actually glad to hear you say that because I've been playing it co-op with some friends and we're about 100 hours in. I don't know how close we are to the end because I haven't looked it up or anything, but we're at Baldur's Gate and we're doing stuff there. And it's really impressive about how dense it is and how much there is in that game and everything. But I've found myself just kind of going, I don't care what we do. Let's just go do whatever. And we can fight anyone and win. And it's all good.
Yeah.
Like I'm not invested. I'm having a great time, but I'm not super invested.
And I'm having the opposite problem.
Of sunk cost. Yeah. It's so weird. I feel like I get to that point and I'll just be like, I need to get over the line. I need to finish it. It's so mad to hear you both say, it's fine. It doesn't matter how it ends.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, because it's so much fun. You don't have to like I was like, at no point in this game was I having a bad time. So it doesn't feel like I have to like win it, or you know what I mean, or like have that thing where it's like, well, at least I finished it. It's like, well, no, I don't. It doesn't matter. I had fun the whole time.
I get that. I do.
Since especially like in visual novels and stuff, I cannot fathom like not going through all the little bits of story because it's like everything like populates the world in a way. So it's like, hey, I think I'm missing a little bit of world building here, or like the very least, like missing like that little bow that wraps up the adventure in a way.
But see, that's fundamentally not the type of experience that this game is, right? Like it's like, and I actually think you will drive yourself insane if you try to get everything because kind of the point of this sort of
no way in hell because
of course. But I think like the difference is that a visual novel is in a lot of ways designed to get all of it, right? Yeah. And most of them that I've seen, it's like you're supposed to do that because otherwise you don't get the whole story. But in this one, it's like the point is that you are making choices that collapses the story.
Yeah.
And it collapses it in onto something, right? But then also, ultimately, the larger narrative is one that you're constructing. And so if you choose to finish it, cool, you get an ending of sorts. But you can choose to end it at any time. Like that's and like I know it sounds sort of weird, but like it really is one of those games where I genuinely feel like it's like I got to Baldur's Gate, I did all this stuff, I did a bunch of things, I'm done now. Like that's it. My adventures are done at this point. I'm good. I don't need to see where this completes. Because also you kind of know in some ways, right? Like there's like it's a fantasy game. The story is wonderful, but like there's not that many ways it can wrap up. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Totally.
True.
yeah, like it is, you are heroes who are going to go and fight the big baddie. Now, is it going to be terrible for your heroes or is it going to be great for your heroes or in between, right? Like that's kind of the question. I don't know. That's just me though, personally, but I get for some, they would really like delve in deep, but I don't know. I just had a good time with it, but that like, yeah. Rick, I feel like you have something here.
I have a counterpoint, which is like, we know where this is going to go. I played a game this year called Trigger Witch. And the finale of that game was that the portal to this other world where all the guns were coming was actually to Soviet era Russia. And the final boss was Stalin, who was trying to find a way to win the Cold War. So you don't know what's in Baldur's Gate.
No, but see, that's the difference, right? It's like, I don't know the minutia. I know the story beats, right? Like, you know that game's going to end in a large... To me, it is, though. Like, to me, it's just... I don't know. Maybe this is because I've been doing the TTRPG. It's like when you like, there's structures to it, right? And seeing those structures lay out, you're like, well, there's really only so many satisfying ways to do this. And at least personally, I feel like I've divested a little bit from the absolute need to see how these things conclude and more just enjoying the stories as they go along, right? Which again, it's totally valid. Like some people, they want that freaking story. It's like, I want to know what happens. I want this thing. And I was like, that's awesome, right? And then for me, I think I've started to get to the point now where I'm like, I'm actually less fussed, I guess, with like the finality of them and more just like, at least for video games for me, it's like, I want to sort of enjoy that kind of like journey along the way. And if I really need to know, I'll just YouTube it.
The universal truth.
Not to derail it too much, but one thing I do want to ask you though, because I had the same experience where I've been running a Dungeons and Dragons game with my friends for like a couple of years now, and one of the things I had to deal with Baldur's Gate was getting used to the fact that the game is basically your DM. And you can't do certain things. Like, it's actually felt quite limiting because the way I do Game Master stuff is I'm very open and I'm up, rule of cool. I'm up for having fun, even if it is silly. I don't care. Like, we bend the rules all the time and just have a good time. So
exactly. Like, I'll let you do anything. It might be disastrous, but you can do anything.
Yeah,
within reason. Obviously, there's some things that are just like within reason. But sorry.
No. I was just going to say, so like playing the game where I saw lots of people talking about how, it's so open and you've got so much choice and you can do whatever you want and everything. When I first started playing, all I saw was limitations because it's obviously funneling you down a path because it wants you to follow this certain story. And the whole time I'm just going, but I want to do something else. I want to go over there, or I want to talk to that person. Yeah.
Well, I think that's why it's probably good that I played it before starting my sort of GM journey. You know what I mean? Like, I actually would argue in a lot of ways, I think Baldur's Gate is a really good onboarder to like D&D in general, because I actually credit it in a lot of ways for teaching me the systems of D&D. Like, these are some of the 5e systems that are in place. And so I kind of have an understanding of how things are meant to work. Would I probably be better at the game now? Probably, because like now I think I actually know those systems like quite well. Though I also prefer the Lord of the Rings one that I'm playing because it has no spells. There's like magical successes, but it gets rid of magic. And magic, I think, is cool as it is. It's the big problem with the games in general, because it's just like, oh, here's a list of 300 goddamn spells. Figure them out. You're like, It's just, it's amazing. Some people, that's what they really want. But yeah, I agree with you though. I think in a lot of ways, I mean, it can't help itself but have limitations, right? Because ultimately it has to be a curated experience. But I think that could be a sticking point. Yeah.
It's totally fair enough. Yeah. Like, of course, it would have to be guided and there would be limits because it's a game.
Yeah.
But I think that shows the difference between, like you say, an in-person tabletop versus a structured video game. So
Yeah. In a way, like I've been seeing like a lot of D&D memes on my Twitter feed lately, and some of them are like, you know what's the thing that I love the most about being a game master? Well, I design a puzzle, but I don't really have an answer for it, so I just wait for my players to bullshit their way around until they reach a satisfying conclusion to the puzzle. Then pretend that I know what I'm doing, roll a couple of dice, and it's like, yeah, you got it.
I know. honestly, yeah, a lot of it's improv. Like, I mean, most of my campaign, there's an overarching story that they're working towards, but like the way that story plays out is like fully dependent on what they do. It's like, sometimes there's a thing I want to happen, and the character that I wanted it to happen to failed an ability roll right when I needed them to, and I went, fuck yeah. And then other times they just nail something, and I go, all right, well, I guess that's not happening anymore. We just move along, right? Which is the fun of that kind of stuff, right? Is that sort of improv.
Yeah. We'll have to have you on for another tabletop talk sometime, because I'm sure we could go on for hours.
I know, yeah, that's why I'm curbing myself, but I would love to talk to you guys about that, because that's the thing I've been really into. Like, I've learned a lot about game masters. But anyway, in terms of other stuff, basically, I've just played a few other things. Like, I've started playing my Xbox again, because it just kind of sat there for a lot of the year. But I beat Like a Dragon Gaiden, which was awesome. Kiryu is just the best. I've been playing through Alan Wake 2, which, if I had it beaten, would probably be my game of the year, because already it's incredible. Like, it is such a leg up on Alan Wake. I played Alan Wake Remastered again, and I was like, oh yeah, this is sort of dog shit. I'm like, it's like a really good story, but it's kind of a dog shit game. Like, it's like combat is just so bad in that, and you're like, okay. But in Alan Wake 2, it's incredible. It's like, this is like the Resident Evil 4 of Alan Wake's. Like, it's just like so good, except maybe not as action. It's more maybe Resident Evil 2, whatever. It's more survival horror, but also has all these puzzles and all this stuff. Really great stuff. But weirdly enough, I honestly think my game of the year is probably Marvel Snap. Like, I just like, honestly, I got so into it after. It is so goddamn good. It is the game I've sunk the most hours into this year. And I just, honest to God, it is so much fun. Like, and you know what? The thing is, I've always liked card games, but I don't like collecting cards because there's too many of those fucking things. And then where do I go to do that, right? Oh, I get to play card games once a week. Fuck, it doesn't work, right? With miniatures, at least I can paint them and stuff. So I was like having this in my pocket and just like being able to play. And like, there's so many different decks, and it just feels like it's getting better every time. And like, they always are fixing the meta. Like, the fact that they just, launch OTAs and stuff. I'm like suddenly like, holy shit, okay. And like, yeah, there's lots of monetization stuff, and that's probably terrible and horrible. But like, I don't know, man. I was just like, you can honestly play pretty free and be okay.
That game does things with cards that you couldn't do with a conventional card game, and it makes the game so quick, and you don't have to shuffle your deck and do all of that shit. It makes it streamlined for you, and the artwork's really cool. The monetization's pretty reasonable as far as these things go. And yeah, they can keep it topped up and tweaked and moved in a way that you just couldn't with a regular card game.
Right?
Yeah.
And like, as far as card games go, because like, that's one of the things with like the monetization, because like, I know like, and like, I understand the issues, but it's like, card games are one of those ones where in a lot of ways they sort of originated it, right? Because they were the booster pack things. But the reality is that if you want to get into card games now, you're going to spend goddamn more than if you try to get into Marvel Snap, because you got to get all these boosters, and then there's all these rares. But the reality is, the rarest cards in this game, anybody can get them, right? Like, it's not some shit you got to go buy from some dude, Like, it's one of those things where I'm like, it feels a little more egalitarian. And like, I've just been like, I play that game every day, like, honestly, like on the bus, going to work, just like when I have a minute or two, because it only takes a couple minutes. And like, honestly, I feel like the fun thing about it too is like, I feel like I'm getting better at things, and I like learning different techniques. And I'm also learning stuff about like TCGs that I didn't even really know. I was like, oh man, like learning all these different types of techniques and styles and stuff. And just like, I don't know, man, it is just it's a good game. It's just really freaking good. So yeah, like, I thought to myself, because I'm like, and I guess too, because part of me feels like I shouldn't say that it's my game of the year, right? Because you're like, oh, it's just like, it's a mobile game that you play kind of deal. But it's also like one of the finest crafted games I think I've played in a long time. And it's just like, it's clearly, because it's by the I believe like an offshoot of the Hearthstone devs. I think it was like some of the creators from that.
That sounds familiar, yeah.
One of the guys was on a podcast. It was someone who used to be involved heavily in that. It's basically ex-Blizzard people who sort of spun off to do it and managed to blag their way into a Marvel license.
Yeah. And for good reason. I mean, it paid off. I get why Marvel did that, because Jesus, they've been doing well with it. And yeah, like, it's just such a such a unique game. For those who don't really know what it is, right? It's like a 12 deck game. And that's also nice. The decks are so tiny, which is so fucking nice. Because I cannot tell you how hard it is when you have decks of like 40 cards. And you're like, what the fuck do I put in here, right? But small decks. Small decks. and you have like 3 locations, and the locations are randomized.
It's not about the size of the deck, Alex. It's about what you do with it.
Pretty much. It's about the quality of the content here.
That's exactly what it is. Dear God. But anyway, I mean, that's honestly.
Some would say that 12 is big enough.
Yes,
that's what I've always been told. Yeah.
But yeah, it's I don't know, man. It's really good, and I'm working my way. I'm like almost series complete at this point. Like I'm getting there. There's some of the bigger ones I don't have yet. I'm just like waiting for spotlights and stuff. But anyway, it's like, yeah, I don't know, man. It's a good time, and I think now I've finally found my sort of balance with gaming again. And it's a bit of like I don't play as much, but I do play a bit, you know. And like I got my Steam Deck occasionally for when I'm going on. I still play a lot on Steam Deck actually. That thing has beaten the Switch by a mile for me. In fact, my Switch Lite died, which I couldn't fucking believe. It just doesn't charge. I think I need to send it to Nintendo or something. And so I was like, I'm done with you guys. I have a Switch, a basic one, which that one still works fine. So I'm like, what the fuck is going on? But anyway, I'm just kind of like, at this point now, I just do that, play my Xbox, and play in-person games, tabletop RPGs and war games. You know, that's my world.
a little tangent that I wanted to. I didn't like know where to put it, but I can testify about Alex playing a lot of Marvel stuff because I swear, dude, every time I fire up my computer, there's a little notification in the corner saying Alex is playing Marvel stuff right now on Steam.
Really? On Steam? Oh, I haven't even played it that much on Steam, but maybe. Yeah, I usually play it on my phone, but yeah.
Yeah, but I always get like a notification there.
I was just thinking it's nice that it's got a PC client, but it seems a lot of effort to play that kind of game. I've had it installed twice, once to get the like introductory rewards, and once because my brother's quite big into it as well. We did some deck craft over Discord, and I was like, well, this is going to be way easier if I just have it on and share my screen. They're the only 2 times it's ever been open.
Yeah, that PC version is for the streamers, you know, like for the content creators. That's 100% who that's for. Because like, and I'm glad they've got it for them because it makes their content great. But yeah, I'm like, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I've had it open a couple times. Sometimes I don't know. Sometimes I play it if I have like a video on or something. I might like just pop it up if I'm at my laptop anyway. But most of the time,
does it have like does it sync with your mobile version?
Yes.
Okay, well that's good.
So it can actually be good. Actually, that's fair. I will sometimes open it up to build decks because I find it sometimes is a little easier to see all my decks out there on the PC.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
That's my only complaint about Marvel Snap. More deck options. I only have 20 slots. I need more.
You're deep.
Trying way too many
deep.
things. Oh, dude, I'm so deep into this game, bro. It's already over. I am like, it's got its hooks in me, and I'm in.
Amen. Amen.
Well, yeah, it sounds like a good game of the year then. Really.
Yeah. and it's the one I'm gonna keep on playing for a long time.
Game of the year 2024. Here we come.
Probably, honestly.
Nice. Well, yeah, Paula, shall we do some color testing?
Yeah. So, guys, as I pretty much told everyone else that has come across like these little podcasts we're doing here, we are doing like a little game where I think I haven't disclosed it yet. Have I? No, I'm gonna disclose it now. So the idea of this game is that it gives a clue on in which order the episodes, not the episodes, the several guests we have so far have been recorded. So I pretty much send a picture with some atomic character cards, and you have to say like what's the most predominant color across all of them, or like what's the color that jumps out to you the most. So I'm sending it on general right now, and you have to tell the color. Since this is the other clue I'm gonna give, since you are the last recording. You don't have to tell me another color, but to pretty much everyone else, I've asked them, hey, which color should I put out that is different from the one you see here for the next person who's going to come as a guest in the podcast.
Sounds good.
Is it a bad time to tell you I'm colorblind?
Excuse me, what?
I kid. I'm not.
Oh, okay. I would be like, especially like, what the hell? Because The podcast was so fucking long.
Rick, should we do like a 3, 2, 1 and then say the color? Does that make sense?
Yeah, go on then.
Yeah.
All right. 3,
3,
2,
2,
1.
1. Green.
That was sad, but we did it.
Hey, you got the same color, so that's a good start.
Yeah,
That's
that would
a
have been
good
bad.
Could have been worse.
Absolutely. That's the
Yeah.
title of my autobiography, I guess.
Sweet.
Could have been worse, man.
That's a good title. Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Not gonna lie.
Fuck.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having us. Actually, I don't know if you have a segue out or anything, but it's been lovely
do
being
now.
back
we're,
here.
we're pretty much done. If Paula didn't have anything else to add, so
I don't have anything else to add. Just beware, dear listeners, there may be an irregularity or two along the episode regarding the colors perceived or selected by other people. So yeah.
it may make sense. It may be kind of just weird.
We'll find out together.
But yeah, we'll all find out together. Or you probably know by now if you're still listening. So
True.
Yeah, hopefully, like this whole color thing doesn't end up being like a dumpster fire of some kind. But yeah,
thank you guys for coming on. It's great to have you on and have your contribution.
Thanks so much for having us.
And great to have you on together as well.
it's been fun. Like it kind of brings back memories. It's like you never left.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll get you next time.
Next time. That sounds
It will be
ominous.
But yeah, thanks to everyone who's been listening. If you've made it this far, you've really stuck in there. So this has been a bit of a bumper special. And yeah, have a happy new year. And we'll see you in 2024.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
This is the Happy New Year.